Which one is it?
You said?
I'm not talking to you.
Okay, so okay.
Can I start my conference, please? Because it's 1 minute past 10. People are trying to join. This is already past 10. I don't like starting late. This is not professional at all. They are in.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and it's a beautiful day. So this is me trying to check if we are ready to start. Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, and thank you for being a part. Thank you for being a part of this conference. Would like to thank you once again. And, I always like to do a lot of Thanksgiving, right? Thank you, and thank you for joining this conference. I believe that you're here for a reason, and I just want to be sure that we all are ready to go. So if you are here and you're ready to roll with us, I'd like you to signify by putting something in the chat box. Anybody like that? Anybody ready? Just say good morning. Just put it in the chat box. Say good morning. Say hello. Say how are you doing? Just say something very, very interesting this morning. And just okay, I see thumbs up. Okay. Any other person, just let us know that you're here. Let's know that you're here. And it's also okay if you want to, okay, hello, hi, everyone. Hello, let's keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. We're a couple of people currently online, and so I like to feel the buzz. I like to feel the energy. So keep it coming. Let me see all the people who are in this morning, and let's get started. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming, guys. Let's keep it coming. It's a conference, and usually in a live conference, we like to start with people getting to meet new people, right? People introducing themselves to one another, connecting with somebody. And one good thing you can do right now is to go through the people on the call right now. All right. So there is Ado Atera. I hope I pronounced that well. There's Benga Rufai, who is one of our speakers. We have Gloria. We have Blessing Onocha. We have Adekunle Gbadebo. We have Precious. We have quite a number of people. So what you can do well is mention someone's name and say good morning to them. Okay. And I'm watching the chat box right now. Of course, I believe that we're live on YouTube right now as we speak. And so if you're watching us from YouTube, well, you may not be able to see people who are here on the live chat, but look at people maybe dropping a buzz on YouTube also, and just welcome them, give them a warm welcome. One good thing or one fact about conferences is the energy with which you get into a conference so much determines how much you're able to get from that conference, okay? So welcome someone, mention their names, and let them know that we're live, okay? If you are, okay, we're live on YouTube. I just got a confirmation that we're live on YouTube, okay? So if you have friends that are looking for jobs, if you have friends that want to move their careers to the next level, just tell them that we're live at the Work Ready Conference. This is the maiden edition, and it's going to be super, super amazing. It's going to be knowledge producing. It's going to be capacity building. It's going to be wisdom providing, and all the good adjectives that you can give to it. So get someone informed, let them know that we're live at the conference, okay? And let's just go straight into it so that, okay, yeah, I see people doing what I asked them to do. All right, someone says, hi, Precious. Okay, keep it coming while you listen to me, okay? I'm sure that you agree with me that we live in times that are very strategic. We live in days that are super strategic in terms of profession, strategic in terms of career, strategic in terms of what people have to do, where their jobs are concerned. There are numerous problems in this time and age. There are people with challenges with how to get the right jobs. There are people struggling with how to move from where they are to where they should be. There are some others who are struggling with toxic environments. How do I work effectively with my boss? It looks like I'm losing out. It looks like I'm tiring out. I need strength. I need capacity. I need stamina. I need some kind of energy to be able to push further at the job that I do. And that's simply the reason we have this conference, the Work Ready Conference. It's going to provide capacity building. It's also going to provide knowledge and information, like I've rightly said. My name is Olumide Ojale, and I am the host for this auspicious conference. Of course, I know that you would like to know more about the conference, who put it together, who the convener is, what am I going to get from this conference, and all of that. And that is why I would like to go straight to introducing and bringing up stage the convener, the CEO of MEG, and she's going to be speaking about why we have this conference. And without further ado, drums roll, I'd like you to please welcome with me Eniola Peters.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hi. Happy new month. Welcome to the Work Ready Conference. How are we today? Thank you very much, Mr. Olumide. Thank you for, introducing the conference in a better way, better than I would have anyways. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the Work Ready Conference. It's the maiden edition, and I'm just here to give us a brief, background of how this conference came about, right? So yes, my name is Enela Peters, for some of you that don't know, and I am the CEO and founder of the MEG Consult. And at MEG Consult, our basic responsibility is to help job seekers and unemployed graduates to get the desired job, to get their dream jobs. And the way we go about that is by equipping people, equipping young graduates still in school, fresh graduates, and unemployed graduates. You can be 5-10 years of unemployed, and basically we equip you with skills to get your dream job. We equip you with skills to get that placement that you so desire. And one of the ways we decided this year is by having this conference, to talk about one of the key things that employers need, and that is being a resilient worker. So over the course of the years, especially after COVID happened, COVID happened to a lot of people, and a lot of people lost their jobs as a result of not being able to manage, working from home, the pressure of being a mom, working from home, attending to the family at the same time, attending to your boss. And a lot of people resigned. In the process, some people even lost their job because they couldn't manage that, because they couldn't flow. They couldn't migrate from, working hybrid, working from the office to working in the house or working online or virtual. So and as a result, it caused a lot of issues and a lot of people coming out to say, oh, there are no jobs, there are no jobs, there are no jobs. The misconception that there are no jobs cannot be overemphasized, because it's just a misconception, it's a myth. There are jobs. Can you do this job? Are you resilient enough? And so when we started planning this conference, something happened, and somebody came to me and said, oh, she's tired of this job she's doing. The work is too much. The boss doesn't understand. She doesn't have a work-life balance, and it seems everything she's doing, she's just there. She's tired. The money is small. As the money is coming in, it's going out. Are there anybody here? If there's anybody here like that, you can just, don't be ashamed. We're all the same. So just drop it in the comment and say, this is me. There's so many of us that are like, oh, the money is not even equivalent to the stress. Like, I just work. There's no income. My boss works through the night, midnight, 10 a.m., 10 p.m., no time boundaries and all that. How do I manage this? How do I get better? Yeah, Abiola said, this is me. That's the truth. This is you. This is me. This was me at a point, because, you realize that midnight, your boss is sending you a message, send this mail to so, and you're like, oh God, this is midnight now. How do I manage this? How do I overcome this? Okay, fine, I have gotten the job, but this job is too demanding. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like the job is too demanding. There's nothing like, oh, I'm going to die here. There is something as being a resilient worker. And what does resilient mean? Being able to take the stress, being able to take the pressure, maneuvering yourself to manage the pressure, at the same time enjoying your job. I had a coaching session recently, and the girl said, oh, she works in a bank. She's so tired. She doesn't have any life of her own. What should she do? So I just gave her a few tips, which you're going to be learning during the course of this conference. We have Mr. Gbenga Rufai. If there's a resilient person that I know, that has to be Mr. Gbenga Rufai. He is super resilient. I've worked with him in the past, and this guy is so cool. Like, I'm complaining, and he's like, what are you complaining about? That's part of life. I'm like, guy, yeah, it can't work that way. Why do I have to? Like, no, everything happens in time. Mr. Gbenga Rufai is here, is going to be talking to us about using resilience to get a job and keep the job. Because sometimes some people go for interviews and they're not even resilient enough. They're like, why are they wasting my time? They told me to get here by 10 and this is 12. They've not attended to me. I had an interview recently and the guy left. I was supposed to get there by 10. And then by 10:05, he sent me a message and said, The interview says 10 a.m. prompt. Why am I not being interviewed yet? I'm sorry, I have to leave. And he left. And that's how he lost the job. Resilience. Or you got the job 1 week later, you see that your boss is demanding. The first two wants to see improvement in his organization. And you're like, oh, this boss is too demanding. I'm leaving. Resilience. Those are the things we're going to be learning here today. And I'm so excited because as the maiden edition, the resilient worker is just fantastic. Next year, we're going to get better and better. And I'm so glad everyone here was able to join. Please, whatever it takes during the course of this conference, learn, ask questions, anywhere you're confused, ask questions. There's no question that is stupid or doesn't make sense. Every question makes sense as long as that is what you desire to know. So this is me welcoming you once again to the conference. I'm still going to speak later. And before I speak, there are other speakers. We have Mrs. Ivie Bitoye. She's a fantastic, oh gosh, she's a fantastic employability. I would say she's my role model, honestly, because she helps people get and sustain a job. So those are the things we're going to be talking about today. And I'm so glad you all are here. Thank you very much. And Ms. Olumide, I hope I've done justice to what you asked me to do. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You have heard from the Englishman would say that you've heard from the horse's mouth, but she's not a horse, so I'm wondering what would call All right, so you just heard from the convener, the CEO of MEC Consult, and it's just very amazing that we get to have organizations like this who have at the core of their hearts the desire, and simply that's what this is about, to help people connect their jobs, to help people navigate their careers, and just make them successful professionals, irrespective of what they do. And as we shared our stories, I can imagine that, like some of you agree that this was me. I remember that, interestingly, from the things that she has said, I fall into the two sides of the equation. I think that I'm a workaholic, and the people who work with me sometimes get messages, emails, or something from me at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 12 a.m. And then by 9 a.m. again, I'm asking, what's up, what's going on, and all that. But I remember also that in my last employment, I got into that organization, and while at that job, it was my first week or second week. I'd gotten employed recently, and then everyone who knew me was so happy for the organization that they were like, wow, they are so blessed to have you. They're so happy to have you. The only person that did not feel the happiness was me. Why? 1 or 2 weeks into my stay at that place of work, the CEO gave me a task to do. I worked all night just because it was my first task. I wanted to please my employer and all that. But lo and behold, got to work the next day, turned the work in, and the CEO rubbished everything that I had done. We're working on Microsoft or something, and then he erased everything that I had done, and then we had to start all over from the beginning. And he eventually took the project from me, gave it to somebody else, gave it to somebody else, and all of that. It was a traumatic process for me, because anyone who knew me at that time, or who still know me, still saw me as a top guy, like smart, sharp, intelligent. But as good as I was, I couldn't meet up with the demands of my workplace at that time. And at the end of the day, it almost got me depressed, and I had to go through some personal coaching and therapy sessions to bounce back, and eventually got back to be the one who was like the pride of the organization at the time. And that means that when you go through all these things, chances are that you go through emotional trauma, you go through imposter syndrome, and all kinds of things. This conference will address those issues, and you can be sure that you will come out as a better person. You will know what exactly to do, because at the end of the day, people go to different conferences. People go for knowledge-based meetings and gatherings, but at the end of the day, they're not able to find out the exact thing that they should do. I bet to tell you that this particular conference will not just give you information, it will empower you by giving you practical steps that you can begin to take from today, irrespective of what level you are at your career journey. And without taking any further time, I'd like to bring in our first speaker for the day. I'll read his profile, and of course, Eniola told us a few things about him, but by the time I read his profile, you'll know that, hey, this is a conference to get your friends to come. You know, I shared the link to one of the groups I belong, and while we were having this conversation, someone said, I've registered. How do I get the link to join? You know, you never can tell how helpful you'll be by sharing the link to this conference right now. Get someone registered, get someone in, find out if they've registered. Don't just throw a link at them. Help them to make sure they are on board, because this is where we need them right now. It's Workers' Day, so it's a holiday. Some people are resting. It's a good time to rest. We're live on Facebook, and I'm sure that the host will also help us. The admin will help us share the link for the YouTube page, so that people can, while relaxing, you can just put in your YouTube on your smart screen while you're having a cup of juice and chicken or something. You're also learning. Anyways, straight to the first session today. If you're still here, I want you to put today. I want you to put it in the chat box now. Right now, let me see that in the chat box right now. Put today. I just want to know the people who are following me. Yes, today I'm saying that. Yes, let's keep the energy. Today, you can put the fire emoji. Let me see how fired up you are. Today, we're in for something huge. Yes, thank you. Keep it coming. If you're on YouTube, you can do the same. Today, okay, I see you. Someone said today. Okay. You know, this is one of the ways to inspire your speakers so that they can give it to you hot. All right. Well, today and the emoji, okay, keep it coming. While that is going on, I'll just read the profile of our guest today and our first speaker right away, and then we'll get into the session. So Gbenga Rufai is a tri-sector professional with experience covering business, government, and the non-profit sectors. He's a firm believer in the critical role of human capital to enterprise growth, national and global development. His competence majors around human capital management, public policy analysis, program planning, strategic planning, and social impact. During his career, Gbenga has initiated, co-lead, and successfully managed key projects in the areas of talent management, policy review, performance management, grade level redesign and restructuring, learning strategy, reward philosophy, policy and procedure development, succession planning, curriculum design and development, and competency framework management. This is huge. Originally trained as a broadcaster at the University of Lagos, he also holds additional qualifications in business administration and management and human resource management. His postgraduate level qualifications are in public policy analysis and public administration. Aside from working in a senior level analyst position with a provincial government in Canada, Gbenga is invested in capacity development of young adults in Africa and beyond. He is the founder and the president of Liberty Career Academy Foundation, an organization that has volunteered and has reached over 1,900, that is 1,900 building and establishing professionals in over 21 cities and 7 countries. Gbenga Rufai also sits on the board of 2 other organizations. One of the principles he lives by is a quote that says, "The unachievable is the untried. The unachievable is the untried." Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not busy, you can use the emotion icon, the emotions icon. Please welcome with me the astute Gbenga Rufai. Thank you very much. Please get your writing materials and just catch as much as you can.
Thank you so much, OJ. Thank you for such a rousing welcome. Good morning, wherever you are. Good afternoon. It's a wrong assumption these days when you go for an online conference to assume that your speakers are on the same time zone with you. So whether it's good evening, good morning, I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. Thank you as well, Eniola Peters, the CEO of Meg Consults, for this opportunity. I'm excited to be here. It's been a while. We've been friends for a very long time. So I'm very happy, despite the constraints, we just had to make this work to be bringing you this morning's keynote. My topic is very straightforward. It's an interesting one, but I also understand I have limited time. They say time is a democratic resource, which means that everybody has only 24 hours. The same principle of democracy that says one man, one vote is the same principle of, 24 hours. But I will try to work within the time I have. I also understand I may get a session for Q&As. Hopefully there are questions I was not able to address when I presented my keynote. I'll be able to address that in the Q&A session. So let's get into it. My topic is, building a strong workforce, resilience in getting and keeping a job. I want you to follow me. I'm going to say a quick story first. We'll start from the point of storytelling. So the year was 2004. Nduka was a final year student at a polytechnic in southwestern Nigeria. To complete a course he was taking, he needed to do research on a concept which the library at the institution did not have data on. Keep in mind, this is 2004. The internet was gradually becoming popular, but only major cities had it. To overcome the challenge, Nduka travels overnight to the next major city to do what was popularly known at the time called night browsing. As the name implied, he had to pull an all-nighter at the internet cafe. Utilizing the dial-up connection, internet connection at the time, which made that very funny and iconic connection sound, he was able to gather the required information, and then he saved it on a floppy disk for printing the following day. Stressful, right? Now, fast forward to a year after. Nduka is now in the job market, searching for a job. All he needs to do was to purchase the Tuesday edition of Guardian newspaper or check the job boards. He would need to submit his written application at the office of the hiring organization and then wait maybe for a letter to be sent via the postman to know if he got the job or not. Now, if you can relate with the story above, we already have an idea of your age. The story just narrated is a snapshot of how people studied and how people applied for jobs just barely 2 decades ago. Now, this was an era where things were largely done in the traditional means. You had to write a letter, you had to wait, and it largely mirrors my experience. No age shaming, please. An overview of this era. Now, for us to really understand the kind of system or context in which we operate in this current era, it's important for us to identify a few key things that defines this era. I've tried to present a picture of what the previous era looked like, and bear in mind that in that era, people only accessed information because, based on the geographic location where they found themselves. So for us to understand how important resilience is at this particular point, and how to keep a job if you're lucky to have one, let's do a brief overview of this current era. I'm just going to mention 3 things. There are more things that define the era in which we are, but I'm just going to reference only 3. Number 1, we're in an era of democratized opportunity. We're in an era where people can access opportunity irrespective of where they are, as long as they have access to an internet connection, whether it is stable or not stable internet, and have access to a mobile device, even if that mobile device is borrowed. They have the capacity to access information. In this same era, a single job advert that is posted online has the capacity to reach thousands, if not millions of people at the same time who have the opportunity to apply for it. Simply put, we're in an era whereby, the playfield is now borderless. I'll give you an example. Liberty Career Academy Foundation runs a conference. Of course, we do run multiple programs, but this year we decided to really expand the frontiers of one of the conferences we held in February to other African countries. Ladies and gentlemen, though the same, advert and the same, application opportunity was presented predominantly to those in Nigeria, we found as we began to track data that the percentage of those who were applying from Eastern Africa at a particular point in time almost doubled the people that were applying from Nigeria. So I'm talking people from Uganda, I'm talking people from Kenya, I'm talking people from Ethiopia. The rate at which they were taking up the slots seemed to be faster than even those in Nigeria. Why am I saying this? Follow on with me. Secondly, we're in an era of stiff competition. And when I mean stiff competition, I mean very stiff competition. Remember I said that in the era of the Undukas, all he had to do was compete with those who bought Tuesday Guardian to get that job. As I speak to you, data, depending on which data source that you consult, is that it shows that Nigeria currently produces over 500,000 graduates annually. Now, the question on quality of the graduates is another conversation entirely, but keep that in mind. We're talking about over 500,000 graduates produced into the labor market consistently, an era of stiff competition. Job seekers and professionals are now in a stiff competition, not only with the Nigerian audience, but actually with the global audience that can compete for the same opportunity, that can compete for your same job. So you understand that the luxury of having what you call job security is reduced by half. Academic qualifications are no longer sufficient for you to land or keep your job. Competition is now with highly, and it's the era of the Gen Zs. And so when you are talking about competition, you are talking about people who are called digital natives. You are in an era of stiff competition with people who have very powerful skills and global exposure. Another example, a friend of mine who is a professor in one of the North American universities was looking to hire a graduate research assistant. Now, bear in mind, this is a research-oriented role. According to how he narrated it to me, he said most of the candidates, that applied had fantastic resumes. They had what it took, the basic qualifications for the job. He said, so he was faced with a dilemma. And what was that dilemma? He could only pick one person. After doing the screening for a while, he ended up with only 2 quality candidates. The question was, what would differentiate candidate A from candidate B? Bear in mind, a lot of people applied. At the end of the day, he told me that how he was able to resolve it was that he began to ask them, beyond your research skills, what other skills or what else can you do? One of the candidates told him that he was able to, he could develop a website and he had graphic design skill. Then it occurred to my friend who was a professor that actually for the funding which he had for that particular role, he needed somebody to be able to design quality graphics, somebody to be able to edit a website, and somebody to be able to manage it. No wonder he picked the candidates with those skills. What are you seeing in essence? It's an era of stiff competition where the basic or the bare minimum of a first degree or even a second degree is just not enough to cut it. Every day you are employed, you must consistently prove to your employer why your role must not be scrapped, merged, or given to somebody else who is willing to take that same job for half the price of what you earn. An era of stiff competition. Let's look at the third thing that defines the era in which we have found ourselves. We're in an era of the rise of artificial intelligence. I'm sure everyone here has heard or is familiar with the buzzing term ChatGPT. I remember a friend of mine in the very early days of ChatGPT who worked with a digital organization in North America. And he told me that suddenly there was a request from a client and the job required them to do some codes. He said, and his his employer told him that, why don't you try ChatGPT? Now, this was what would have required. He said if they were to hire somebody to do all of those coding and all of those stuff, it would have cost them a few thousands of dollars. He said, but ladies and gentlemen, he went on ChatGPT and ChatGPT cut the time by which they were able to do that job in half. He knew that his job was threatened. The speed and utilization of artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is currently so fast that renowned people, tech enthusiasts the world over, are calling for a pause. If you think ChatGPT is the only artificial intelligence product outside there, you've not been staying up to date. On a daily basis, tens of different artificial intelligence tools are being rolled out to the market that can cut the work that is done by a human by half or even much more than that. I'd like to share some few data with you just to give you a concept or an idea of what we are talking about here. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers, 72% of executives believe that AI will be the most significant advantage for the business. 77% of businesses are using or exploring the use of artificial intelligence. That is IBM. 77% are exploring its utilization. According to the World Economic Forum, 85 million jobs worldwide could potentially be used by artificial intelligence, could be done, I beg your pardon, by artificial intelligence by 2025, which, by the way, is just 2 years away. According to the Harvard Business Review, 36% of executives say that their primary goal for incorporating artificial intelligence to their job is to optimize their business operations. One thing you must keep in mind that business owners have is this: that organization where you work or where you are seeking to work was not established in the first place with you in mind. Every business owner that sets up a business did not set it up just to make you happy. The whole idea is to maximize profits. And how do they do that? To increase efficiency, which gives them a strong business case to consider the utilization of artificial intelligence. In today's highly volatile world of work, your emotional and mental stamina will be put to test on a consistent basis. I'm not saying on a weekly basis, on a consistent basis, your emotional and mental stamina. So you find people who are very mental, who are brilliant, very intelligent, but when it comes to their emotion or to their mental capacity, their mental fortitude, it becomes a major challenge because they cannot withstand the amount of stress or consistent change that they're having on a daily basis. We're in an era where reactive professionals will get punished, but resilient and proactive ones will get rewarded. In the era where we are, can I say to you that the one thing you cannot afford to be is to be a reactive professional? What do I mean by that? Is somebody who only acts when something has happened. However, it is advised that you are a proactive one, somebody who can anticipate. And that's a particular competence that you can develop, your ability to anticipate where things will happen in the next 2 to 3, 4 years. So you will find that currently we are in uncharted territories where the playbook for career success has totally changed. The playbook for career success 1 decade ago or 2 decades ago was simply do your job, show up, be a nice guy, and you get promoted for it. But in the age where we are, the playbook is totally different. The rules are different. We're in uncharted territories. We do not even know where things are going to be in the next 20 years. So except you are a genius or you are born into wealth or an act of divine help, you will find that the odds are actually highly stacked against you. And that's the truth. The odds are highly stacked against you, except maybe you are from a very wealthy family or you are a genius that people cannot do without. So now add to all these 3 things I've talked about an era of economic turbulence. Then you understand that your stressors is just going to grow by a factor of 100 or more. So add all of this together, you see that the context in which we have found ourselves is a very, very challenging one. Now, the question then is, how do I then build resilience? The reason I had to share that context with you is that you have no business talking about building resilience or being a resilient employee if you do not understand the odds against you. How do you go up to battle without understanding the nature of the battle that you are up against? So we've established that we're in an era where there's so much stress, there's so much pressure, and the challenge with it is that you have very little control over these macro factors. Those are factors outside of your control. So how then do you do? I'm going to be sharing 5 or 6 things with you, and I'm going to run through it pretty fast. Pardon me, I'm a bit of a fast speaker. And then we'll find time to answer questions and begin to drill down into one of them. So how then do I become that resilient employee that even when those challenges emerge, I'm able to navigate it, I'm able to handle it? Number 1, you must identify your uniqueness and utilize the flywheel principle. I'll take that again. Identify your uniqueness and utilize what is known in management terms or in engineering terms as the flywheel principle. Now, you understand that companies spend so much of money, thousands of dollars, for them to be able to communicate what is unique about them. Can I say to you that there is something that is always unique about an individual? Your job is to find out what is unique about you. When you find your uniqueness, and for some people, their uniqueness is their ability to stay calm under pressure. For some people, their uniqueness is with numbers. For some people, their uniqueness is to be able to anticipate things that will happen in 4, 5, 3 years. For some people, their uniqueness is the ability to have a very long work rate, which means they can produce results. For some people, their uniqueness is resourcefulness. How many of us remember those colleagues when you're in the university and they ask you to do a group job, group project, and they are able to find the information no matter how well hidden that information is? Those are very resourceful people. For some people, their uniqueness is their ability to connect with others. So you find your uniqueness, and then I say that you utilize what is called the flywheel principle or the flywheel concept. I'm going to describe the flywheel concept this way. The flywheel concept is simply a small win that, if built on over time, will produce momentum such that growth will begin to happen almost automatically in other areas of your life. So take this for example. The flywheel is a very massive metal object that is found in an engine. For those of us who grew up maybe older, there was this kind of generator that you had to roll. Now, when the flywheel begins to roll, it is actually very slow. But when the flywheel gets to a point, it picks up so much momentum that energy is generated and you begin to see results. So what do people do is that every organization, and you can also apply this principle to yourself, is that what is my flywheel? What is that area that any day of the time I am actually good at? What is that area of my life that if you wake me up 2 minutes, when you put me against 10 candidates, it's my uniqueness? So your responsibility is to find that area of uniqueness, turn it into a flywheel. In the initial stage, it may look as if it is slow. Maybe you are a business owner. You have to understand within your business, what is your flywheel? What is that area that if it gains momentum will begin to produce productivity and profitable returns almost automatically? Find it and utilize it. In the world of basic business management, you're introduced to the concept of SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. In this era that we are, you must be able to identify your weakness and your strengths, focus on your strength. Often I hear people who say, oh, my weakness, I need to address my weakness. While we encourage you to find ways to close the gaps of your weakness, actually leverage your strength. You may not be good at everything, but there must be something that you are excellent at. Find it and leverage it. Number 2, develop what we call staying power. Develop staying power. Consider success a dream if you always throw up your hands at the slightest sound of defeat. You will never. People who achieve great things are not people that when one thing does not work, they throw up their hands in defeat. In this current era we have, it is the survival of the fittest and the survival of the smartest. We are saying develop staying power. Life will always throw you curveballs. Life will always throw you things that are outside the realm of your control, but your ability to develop staying power, to ask yourself that what else, don't say it can't be done. Ask yourself, how can it be done? I've often had people say, oh, I want to do X, Y, Z. They tell you and they say, oh, no, it can't be done. No, do not say it can't be done. Ask yourself, how can it be done? You find yourself in an environment with an organization that is very challenging. Do not say, oh, I cannot work here. The first question you ask yourself should be, how can I work here? The reason is because between those two words or those two phrases of it can't be done and how can it be done is where innovation and creativity and breakthrough ideas lie. So you must be able to ask yourself, in this current constraint that I found myself, how can I make it work? There is always a solution. How you make it work would be negotiating. How to make it work is to have a conversation, a respectful conversation with your line manager. How to make it work would be moving from where you currently are. How to make it work would be going back to school. How to make it work would be looking for another job. But what we are saying in essence is that you have to learn to develop staying power. We are having a generation, that gives up at the slightest sight of opportunity. Can I say to us that for every innovation that you celebrate today, what we are celebrating is the one effort that gave results. You have no idea the amount of effort that went in that never saw the light of day. Number 3, manage but do not lower expectations. Manage but do not lower your expectations. Sometimes people go into jobs or go into the career world with high expectation. They expect that, things are going to happen very smoothly. They get a new job and they're so excited. It's just going to be, beautiful. It's just going to be sun roses and sipping pina colada every day. No, it doesn't always work that way. It is important to expect good outcomes, but do not be a reckless optimist, because one curveball can knock you out. Now, how many of us have seen when boxers, you know, in the boxing ring, and, you know, they are throwing the punches, you know, go out, throw the punches, but you will notice that as they throw the punch, they are always doing their hands like this. The whole idea is that they are guarding their vulnerable areas. So when you go out with your expectations, manage it by guarding your vulnerable areas. Things always do not seem the way they appear. Sometimes the most logical move can become the most painful because reality does not match expectation. So sometimes you take a job, a new job, and you're excited about it, and things are not going well. Do not beat yourself up. Ask yourself, how can I make the best of it? Be gentle and kind to yourself. I often hear people, you know, who are very, very tough on themselves and blame themselves for everything not going well. Yes, you made the wrong decisions. Yes, perhaps you studied the wrong course. Yes, perhaps you're in a wrong city, or in not the best city, not a wrong city, but maybe not the best city. The question is, manage your expectations. Oh, you moved down to Lagos, or you moved down to VIA, and you thought everything is just going to go, you know, you made the projections within 2 years, I'm going to become a senior officer. Between 3 years, I'm going to 3 to 5 years, I become a manager. And between 7 years, sometimes you may be there for 5 years and it's not working. Manage your expectations because things are consistently changing. Number 4, understand your career season. Understand your career season. As you pursue your career, maybe you are a fresh graduate out of school, you are looking for a job, or maybe you are even already an established professional, you must understand your career season, because the same way life is in seasons, you must understand that your career is also in seasons. And you see, for every career season that you find yourself, you must know what that season demands of you, and you must know what that season provides to you. I'll take that again. For every career season, you must understand what that season demands of you, and you must know what that season provides for you. So, for example, you are in a season, you are a fresh graduate, you are in a building. In fact, you're not even a building phase as a fresh graduate. You are in a foundation digging phase. So at that particular point in time, the first thing you are looking for is not opportunities that will provide you the highest compensation. If that comes, all well and good. But what that season is providing for you, what you are looking for in that season is an opportunity to learn and develop deep roots. Master your competence. In that area, you are trying to develop what is unique about you, like I said earlier, and you are trying to know what you will become your flywheel in the future. So for some season, it is a profile building season. When you are trying to build a profile, you know, you're in a profile building season, what you are looking for is multiple opportunities. Opportunities and projects, you know, you are the eager beaver in the office. You are taking up projects, not at the detriment of your health, but you are taking up projects because you want to build a profile. And can I say to you that it takes time? It takes time. Some season is an earning. You just need to earn. For example, you are a young person, you need to pay, you have the bills of your younger ones to pay. Maybe you need to pay yourself for your master's. You had an earning season. You need to know what that season provides. For some season, it is competency building. Some season, what it provides to you is exposure. So you have to understand what that career season, and I've often seen people, especially those in their earlier career phase, who overcompensate. So they get a big break and they're overcompensating themselves. Rather than investing, remember we talked about the flywheel, rather than investing in their flywheel and asking themselves, how can I become the best in this single area? They're already overcompensating themselves. They want to buy the best car. They want to wear the best shirts in the office. You're overcompensating yourself. You are not that phase yet. There are certain areas when it gets to a point, your name alone is what produces the result. Remember I talked about the flywheel. I keep on going back to it. When momentum builds to a point, the result will begin to come out itself without you having to stress, because your name is bankable. You've been tested, you've been trusted, we know. But you see, in those early phase, that is what you are trying to build. Don't cut corners at that early phase. You are trying to deepen your roots. In your office, there must be something you are known for. Back in the day, where I was actively involved in human resource management, we knew employees that we needed a project to get done. We knew the man to call. In fact, when we are looking for staff in other organizations, we know who to call. So what you should become or strive to build in your career is that credibility and that track record, that when they're looking for things to get done, even if they are thousands of kilometers away, you are the guy to call. You are the lady to call. So you want to build that, understand the season that you are. There are certain seasons that it requires your working. That is what that season requires, because you know that you're in the growth stage of your career. Some certain season, what you need is stability. Maybe you just put to bed, your family is young, or you have 2 young kids as a married man or married woman, not just women. Married man, you want to be hands-on for your kids. What you need in that stage, maybe some measure of flexibility. But you're a single man or you're a single lady that you are just starting out. Flexibility is not the first thing that you are looking for. You are looking for something that can give you an earning and learning opportunity. Number 5, be nimble and be comfortable with change. We're talking about building resilience here. Be nimble. You can adapt easily and be comfortable with change. I've often had people to say, oh, they do not like change. People are resistant to change. And I found that one of the reasons that that line of thought is out there is because people do not anticipate and are comfortable. Listen, in the current age where we are, if you are not comfortable with change, you're going to burn out. And what I'm saying in essence is that be ready or anticipate change. There's a reason why it's often said that change, nothing in this world is permanent, that change is the only constant thing, because things are consistently changing. And the smart thing that professionals in this age should do is to anticipate and position for themselves for it. So for example, I know that I'm working in an organization and I anticipate that in the next 5-6 years, softwares will be brought in to do my job. For me, instead of me grumbling or complaining and losing energy and getting stressed about it, what I should be doing is asking myself, what certification or course or training program should I go for to be able to utilize that particular software? So when you get to that point and opportunities open, people say that you are the one getting it. It just didn't happen. There is no overnight success. Somebody prepared for it. Somebody anticipated it. Number 6, which is the last point on this before I conclude, is, and I think is one of the most important ones, especially in this current age, embrace feedback. Yes, embrace feedback. Listen, feedback is a gift. It's one of the most underutilized gifts in any endeavor you are doing in life. Now, most times I must acknowledge that how the feedback comes is usually not the best, especially, in the African or the Nigerian context. I work in human resource, so I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes that feedback comes in a very harsh, in a very lack of, not well thought out way that does more damage to the recipients than the intention of that feedback. But can I say to you is that feedback is a gift. A refusal of an application is not a referendum on who you are. It's not a judgment on your person. Not all feedback is hatred. I've had people, when feedback comes, and feedback comes in different ways. Sometimes feedback comes in an application, refusal of the application. Sometimes feedback comes, your boss, he literally almost trashes your job. I've been there. Sometimes feedback comes in oh, we are sorry. That email, I call it a love letter. Some of you, at the time, I had tons of those emails, say, thank you. Once you see, thank you for applying to this process. However, that is bad news that's going to come after it. So sometimes feedback comes that way. But you see, you cannot make progress if you always take feedback personally. Don't take it personal. Ask yourself, what is this? Yes, it came as a refusal, but you see, what that refusal is communicating is not that you are a bad person. That refusal is saying something to you, that there are certain adjustments that you need to make. You have to learn to embrace feedback and identify what the expectation is. I've done different things in the course of my life and my career that never worked. What people celebrate today is the one that worked, but the one that didn't work, nobody sees it, right? But what that refusal said to me, and most times when you go for a job interview, and you could even be an experienced professional, your boss says, no, I don't like what you did. The tactic to use is not to get personal and say it doesn't like me. No, that's not the first thing. You say, well, thank you so much. I probably did not understand what you expected. Is it okay if you give me more clarity for the sake of next time? What else should I do differently? What you have communicated is that you have the ability to receive feedback and you become better. I once worked with a very senior level executive, highly experienced woman. In fact, I give her a lot of credit in my professional growth in my early days in human resource. And I would go with different, projects, presentations, and I'll sit with her in her office and she'll say, no, Benga, this is this. And I would always ask, okay, doctor, how do you expect me to practice? I'll say, good question. And I will ask her questions. What if you were in my show, how would you handle this? And she will explain, ladies and gentlemen, nobody needed to tell me that my competence grew within a year. That when I did things afterwards, people would say, wow, this is awesome. But it was that process of feedback. I wasn't taking it personal. Some people get grumpy and say, no, he doesn't like me. It's because I'm from this part of the country. No. While that may be a possibility, that is not your focus. You are asking yourself that in this situation, I'm not throwing up my hands in the air. What is this refusal saying to me? It's saying something to you that maybe there is an adjustment that you need to make. And so the place of feedback is extremely critical in this current age. In conclusion, I will close with a line from the hit movie, Rocky #2, played by Sylvester Stallone. In it, he was having a conversation with his son. Listen to this. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. Life will hit you hard. But it's not about how hard you are hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. My name is Gbenga Rufai. I'm happy to take questions if you have one.
Thank you so very much. We are very glad to have all that you have shared with us. And like you just announced, we have the opportunity to take a couple of questions. But while we're doing that, I want you to, okay, yes, I see the accolades coming in already. Thank you very much for the accolades. Thank you. That was a mind-blowing session. Thank you for making it that short and powerful. And then we'll be able to take exact questions that might bother on the areas people already have pinpoints. So we'd like to start. Let me read what this person says. It says, even though it might be a possibility, that should not, so I guess there's a glitch here, that should not affect your focus on something like that. Okay, so while we wait for some of the questions to come in, I'd like to ask you this particular question. And that is, yes, it's very insightful. And this question is around one of your last statements, which talks about overcompensating yourself. And you use this particular example, and that's the example of what you're wearing and all of that. I just want you to be able to throw in a balance, and you'll be able to talk about it. You know, there's this saying also that says, dress the way you want to be addressed, right? What's the balance between how to do what we're supposed to do without being overcompensating ourselves?
Okay, brilliant question, OJ. You see, when I talk about overcompensating yourself, remember I did not say compensating yourself. I'm saying overcompensating. So when you talk about, and it looks different for different people, for a business owner or a startup founder, you know, and we have a litany of cases whereby, you know, the people invest in the business and the owner wants to fly first class, wants to fly business class, just at the sign of the first few business deals, and then not investing back. There's a reason why in business world there's what's called plowed back profits. So which means profit comes in as a percentage that goes back into that business. For the individual, it may be at that point you are earning so much, but you are not living beyond your means. You must learn to always invest back, right, into yourself. Do not forget, what got you here will not get you there. So in terms of your appearance, anybody who knows me knows that I don't compromise on how you look, right? You look good, look decent. But you see, in doing that, you do not need to break a bank. You do not need to break a bank. It's about understanding that personal grooming, something can be expensive, doesn't make it look good on who is wearing it. I'm sure we all can relate with this. So we are seeing in that phase of your career, especially, and I was speaking to those who are in the early phase, either as a business owner or as an early career person or as a fresh graduate. I'm saying that at that early phase, the focus is not to expend all the resources or the accolades that come to you on just to make yourself feel good or, you know, to overcompensate yourself. We are saying you have to be measured and understand that keep your eyes on the prize. It's a journey you are going here. And I cannot but keep going back to that flywheel principle. If you look at the flywheel and you can Google it, it's a massive metal object. Those in engineering will know this. It doesn't move fast immediately. It takes time. But you see, when it gets to a point, the momentum is so massive that other areas, results are popping up. And if you look at any organization, it's been used in the business world multiple times. Amazon has used it, just name them, is at that early phase, what is our flywheel? If what is bringing you that result is your brilliance, can you improve it? If what is bringing you that result is your ability to do the job in 2 hours, can you invest in yourself that you can turn it out in 1 hour? right? Not at that point in time, you now relax and you're overcompensating yourself. Say, no, I need to sleep for 12 hours. Why do you need to sleep for 12 hours at that early phase? You're a single person. It's a season. It will not always be like that. There will be a season that will come that you then determine when you want to work and when you don't want to work, and nobody will begrudge you for it. So that's what I was talking about in terms of not overcompensating yourself in those early phase when little results are just beginning to come up,
All right. Thank you very much. So there's this question. Okay, someone says, sir, how do I figure? Okay, before I read this question, I wanted to say that, well, what you're saying in essence is that life is not like Tom and Jerry. I don't know, maybe I'm too old or something, giving Tom and Jerry example.
We said ageism is not allowed, so we are not going to age shame you.
Yes, we wouldn't do that. Okay. So it's only Tom and Jerry that wants to start running and immediately they speed up, irrespective of the distance that the other person has covered. Once they move fast. I have a question here which says that, sir, how do I figure out my unique point? Especially when it seems to be, when I seem to be passionate about more than one thing. Also, in a case where I am not looking to get a job, but to start an NGO, what skills do I need to possess? I think we'll just take the first one, for example. Yeah. How do I find out my unique point, especially when it looks like I'm passionate about more than one thing?
Yeah, it's a question I get asked very like a lot. It's one of the most asked questions, especially from people who are just setting out. So I'm going to, number one, I'm going to refer you to MEC Consults. They are specialists in this career thing. They can help you navigate that. But in the interim, it's through feedback. Number one, feedback. Ask yourself, what are the things that I like to do and that I'm good at? Many times people will say, I'm not good at many things. That's not true. There is always something you are good at. Number two is feedback from those above you, right? So there's what is called the Johari window. The Johari window is a window that allows you to see the four kinds of yourself. Your known self, your unknown self, your hidden self, and your blind self. There are four selves that everybody has. We do not have time for that. But people above you can see the you that you don't know, right? So get feedback from them. People who have managed you, people will be straightforward with you. Get feedback. What am I good at in this area? Ask them maybe three things. Ask people who are at your level. You know that people above you you may find them tough, but you see people on your level, and this is one of the most ignored or the most ignored influences that people pay dearly for in the future. You ignore your peers. You only want to suck up to those who are up there. That's fine, but don't ignore your peers. Get feedback from them. People who have been with you, went to school with you, they should write 4 or 5 things that they say you are very good at. They will tell you. Then go to people under you. If you're managing people, ask them, what are the things that I do well? If you're humble enough, I hope you are, to get feedback from your mentees, if you have them, or what do I do well? They will tell you. Now, when you get that feedback from those different sources, you will see recurring themes. Some will recur on all 3 levels. Some will recur twice. Some will happen just once. That's how you begin to know your uniqueness. And you see, you don't know what you are unique at till you begin to try things. As you begin to try things, you will find things you are good at. And let me say to you, just quickly to add, that sometimes I've heard people say, but I don't enjoy it, so I don't do what I do enjoy. At certain points in your life, you don't get to cherry pick what you do. Sometimes you do things not because you enjoy it, and it's not an excuse not to do an excellent job. You can do things, it doesn't mean you enjoy it, but when people see it, it's difficult to convince them that you don't enjoy it because it's excellence. Right? So whatever comes your way, you may not be what you enjoy, but give it 110% because that is what's going to open the door for the things that you begin to enjoy. There's a quote from this popular film, old film, no ageism here. It's called Aquila and the Bee. And, Forrest Whitaker says that we do what we have to do so that we can do what we want to do. There are certain stages where you have to do what you got to do. It's often said a man's got to do what he's got to do, right? So you do what you have to do, then you can get the right to do what you want to do.
Amazing. Thank you so very much. We also have questions and we also have comments on YouTube, people saying all kinds of things, giving a submission of the things that they have learned from this class. So just to let you know that we're live on YouTube again. And of course, people can still join us on on Zoom. It's never too late to do that. We're still having questions with our first speaker. We also have another speaker, and then the host will yet speak. The second part to this person's question is, what skills do I need to possess if the goal is to, rather than seek for a job, start as an NGO? But I'd like to add to that question because there's also a gap that I see in my own little experience too. What's your advice on people who just want to start with a nonprofit without having requisite experience in the marketplace, right? And so you just answer those two questions, please.
Yeah. So in terms of the skills, the non-for-profit sector is a very interesting one. If you want to work hard, enter non-for-profit, you will work very hard. There's always a problem to solve, right? It may not compensate you as much financially, but it will give you a lot of internal fulfillment. I run one myself. So what are the skills? The skills depends largely on the area in which you want to do. And when we say the non-for-profit, it's actually large. There are different sides to it. Are you just going to be an advocacy non-for-profit? That's one, that's one side. Or you want to just be a non-for-profit that provides grants. So it depends on how or what sector of the non-for-profit that you want to play. And of course, you must be a self-starter, number one. And I'm going to come back to the thoughts on wanting to start that with the before working, is that you must be a self-starter. You must be somebody that if nobody is looking at you, you can get things done. That's non-for-profit. In the early days of starting non-for-profit, you will be the administrator. You will do everything because there's limited funding. You are asking people to give you money. And it takes time before you develop credibility. One of your biggest assets in the non-for-profit world is your credibility. People know that your revenue to utilization, cost utilization ratio is very low, which means that we give you $100, 90 of it will get to the people that is intended for. It takes time to build credibility in the non-for-profit space. But once you do, the money begins to come for you to do that. But don't forget, that money is not your money. You have to be very accountable in the non-for-profit space. You must be able to do financial management. You must be able to plan. So it depends on the kind of non-for-profit. But this is also what I would say is that I always encourage people to work. Go and work under a non-for-profit if that's the sector you're passionate about. Go and work in an organization. Understand how processes are done. Understand how books and finances are managed. Understand how cash flow is done. Understand how budgeting is done. Understand how to create a process so that you don't burn out. And you say it's not because you're resilient. It's not because you're resilient. You are burning out, because burning out is also another concept. You can burn out. No matter how resilient you are, you can burn out if you're not wise. So if you work under an organization, being a non-for-profit, be it an international development organization, you learn process, you learn how to manage people. One of the biggest things you will do in non-for-profit world is managing volunteers. Don't forget, you are not paying them. So you can't shout at them like some people would do. You shouldn't shout at anybody, even if you are paying them. But my point is, you can't demand of them. It is if they say they give you 2 hours, it's 2 hours. You can't call them at night. You shouldn't even call any employee at night in the middle of the night, except that agreement, both of you had that agreement that you can send a message any time of the day. It doesn't show courtesy, right? We have to respect boundaries, okay? So, but in the non-for-profit world, we are going to deal with volunteers, and your people management skill must be top-notch. We are going to be dealing with people that are donors. So if your people management skill is not yet there, I would recommend that don't even start. Go and work under a big non-for-profit, volunteer your time with them, or even get a paid employment. Okay, get a paid employment, you get exposure, you will learn, you will see how not to do it. My earliest days, in the course of my career, I've worked with very large organizations. I've worked with small organizations as well. I've found out from the small organizations how not to start and run a business. The things I learned about business, managing a business, I didn't go to business school. I learned it on the job, working with small businesses and big businesses, and I saw the pitfalls that founders made. So my stripes, my rank was gotten in the trenches, in the field, right? Not on the pages. Of course, I've taken multiple business courses. I have a business diploma, right? But the point I'm making is always good to work. You will learn. You will learn much more than you learn.
Amazing. Thank you very much, sir. There's another brilliant question here which says that, still on your point on staying power, right? What do I do when I'm in a place and it looks like I'm not growing, it looks like I'm not learning? How do you balance that with staying power? What do you do?
Brilliant question. I always say that there are two things your job must give you. Every job must give you these two. Any job. If this job is, I once wrote an article years ago, I think it's still on LinkedIn. If your job doesn't give you these two, you might need to reconsider. Number one is earning and learning. See, if on a job you are not earning, you are not learning, it's a dangerous place to be, right? Because you need those two to grow in the course of your career. But the question then is, if you find out that in the place where you are not growing, right? There's no value being added to you, and you've stayed it. The first thing I will ask is, there's what is called tunnel vision. When something is too close to you and just zoning on that problem, you will not see the other things around it. And so I always ask that speak with somebody who is a third party. If you have a mentor, that's good. If you have a friend who is matured, somebody you can speak to, who can put things in perspective. Sometimes what you call not growing is because you can't see, is a tunnel vision. We all have our blind spots. So when you are zoned in on a problem, all you'll be seeing is the problem. That's why he said that a raging bull only sees the red cape. Have you seen a raging bull before? The only thing he sees is the red cape. He doesn't see any other thing around it. It's just the red cape. And so it charges at that. So you want to get perspective from somebody else. If after that session, you're still finding out that it's still true, it's not getting you the value, never you damage another person's business. Find a way out. Exit. Plan your exit. You've given it time. You've given your effort. You've taken feedback. You've gotten counsel. People have put things in perspectives to you, right? Then the next thing is to find what's the next thing. You must not say in the name of staying power, damage your health. I've encountered very toxic workplaces. Don't even let us open that can of worms. Very toxic work. I have zero tolerance for abuse. This physical, verbal, psychological, or mental. I have no tolerance for it. So that's not what we are talking about. But make sure that you've done your all parts. You stayed there. And I'm not sharing with you what I've not practiced, what I've not gone through. Staying there and saying maybe I'm not the one. I'm zoned in on it. Getting feedback. And at the right time, I moved.
Thank you. I have two more questions to ask you before we let you go into other things this morning or afternoon, wherever, whatever time zones people are. You talked about what the season demands, and I want you to speak to how to discern, because I believe that there is a need for discernment of what a season demands, right? How do you discern what the season you are in demands per time?
Good. Another good question. How then do you know? Is knowing, number one, what do you want for yourself, for your career? So, for example, if my vision is to become the CEO of a big organization, okay. If I want to be the CEO of a big, if I want to be the CEO of a big organization, I know that there are certain things I must have for me to qualify. Number one, I must be sound technical skills. I know I must have leadership skills. I know I must have exposure. So is knowing the requirements for not the current you, for the future you. Most people are only focused on their current requirement, but the future me. If the future me requires that by the time in the next 10, 15 years, I should be at this level, I must know what those demands. So I'm working from the end to the now. Always start with the end in mind. This is the end. I walk down. So in the course of that journey, I know that I'm in the year one of the 15-year to that CEO position or 10-year position, right? In that year one, I know that my credibility is one of the biggest currencies you will ever have as a professional or as an individual, right? Credibility. You are the kind of person they know you will show up. There are people who don't show up. So at that early phase, you know that this is what you need. But a phase then comes that, and at that time you're single, but you are now married. You have a family, you have young children, and your desire is not to be a submarine parent. You know what submarine parents are? You see them in the morning, and you don't see them again. They are not hands-on, they are not there. You don't want to be there. At that point in time, then you want to tone down on that chase to become the CEO. You tone down, because at this point, what you need is flexibility. You know, it takes a number of years, 4 or 5 years, for you to balance your children to the point whereby they are independent. From a baby to age 5, they are so dependent. But when they get to age 5, 6, they're beginning to become more independent. At that point, you can pick. So you have to know what you want, where you currently are in life, and what are the demands. And let me say to you that there is no season that has a disadvantage. There is no season in your career that is you're at a disadvantage. No, it is how you are seeing it and how you are leveraging it, right? So in that space, maybe you have to slow down a little bit for family purposes, right? One of the things that you want to say is, okay, what else can I do? You want to take a course. You want to add another skill, okay? You may want to volunteer in other places to build your profile. Maybe not as demanding. You may want to pull out from an organization maybe that demands almost 12 hours worth of work, and there are jobs like that you have to do 14 hours worth of work, but you do not have the system around you to sustain it. Then you want to slow down a little bit, look for something else that is not as demanding, but still in the same line of where you are headed. And when you are done with that phase, you move again. All right. So there are certain phases also that you need a profile. As you are nearing the top, if it's a public office, you know you need a heavy profile, right? So you want to build that profile. You know that you need to volunteer here. You are doing this. You know, so it's knowing what the end is, knowing where you are and what do you need, because each phase has its demand. For example, in Nigeria, when it rains, it pours. When is the rainy season? What do you need? You need, if you have a means of transportation, you want to make sure it's reliable, not the one that any small rain like this is jacking and moving forward. No, because that's that season. You want to make sure you have your umbrella in your vehicle. Or maybe you are a parent and you're a married person, you're expecting your first child. That season, you know you need to start getting your house baby-proofed. Because you see, all around you, you will find out that there are different seasons and we're able to relate with it. The same thing as well in terms of your career, you will know. And if you don't know, ask people who've been in this phase, right? How do you navigate it? How do I get from point A to point B? This is my end goal, but this is where I am. They'll be able to put it in perspective that the season you are, you cannot keep on doing X, Y, Z, right? You probably cannot.
Thank you. Final question, so that we can allow you to do other things, would be around the subject of feedback.
Yep.
So you talked about receiving feedback in good light and all that. But, you know, it's also possible to work in some environments where nobody sends you to give you feedback. They just wait until your cup is full and then fire you or what have you. So in the case where I'm not getting feedback, right, can I ask for feedback, and how can I ask for feedback?
Okay, good question. I know you've asked all the questions have been excellent. So pardon me for keep on saying good question. They're just too good. I can't help it. Now, feedback. Sometimes you are not giving feedback. Sometimes you ask for feedback. But you see, when you are asking for feedback, be very careful. Number one, are you ready to hear it? Sometimes you think you're ready for feedback, you are not ready for it. Be mentally ready to receive the feedback. Be humble about it. Number two, be careful whom you are asking feedback from. Do you get the point? You can ask for feedback from the wrong person that can do more damage, that will not give you sincere feedback because either of their ego. And it's also, when you ask for feedback, be careful of psychological manipulation. People can psychologically manipulate you to keep you low in the name of giving you feedback. You must know how to sieve it, right? You take it, remember, don't take it personal, sieve it. You know the way you put what we call the strainer, that's, let me use the Yoruba word, pardon me, I'm a Yoruba boy. Ase, you know that, whatever strainer. You call it, yeah, exactly, that's strainer. So you pour it into the strainer. Yeah, exactly. You put it into that strainer and it's the main thing, you pick it, but you have to be very careful. Be ready psychologically to receive that feedback. Be careful whom you ask for feedback for. There are people in the world that like to manipulate feedback and use it as a tool of psychological control to make you feel less of yourself. Any feedback well given, and not everybody knows how to give feedback. People who are skilled at feedback will never make you feel less of yourself at the end of the day. And so they all talk about, so you must know who you are asking that feedback from. And when that feedback comes, know how to sieve it. Don't take it personal. And that's why you must know yourself. This one, our guy is not saying the truth. This one, I think I should. This one, he just wants me to feel, you know. Some people feel that the only way to control others is to give them bad feedback so that they will not aspire. Because you see, when you psychologically damage people to a point, they will never aspire. They will never, in fact, they will begin to make more mistakes, and it gives them a license to hold them to ransom. They will never aspire to fly. They will never become all that they can be, because consistent bad feedback, they keep on pounding their negatives. It damages their psyche, right? And so when its opportunities come, they will never compete. They will never be innovative. So you have to be careful with it, but ask for feedback where it's not given.
We can't thank you enough, honestly. That's quite insightful. I'm sure that if we had the whole day, you would just keep reeling in the wise words and just keep inspiring, motivating, and empowering. But because of time, we'll just draw the curtain here so that we can go straight into the next speaker.
Before I go, OJ, just two things. I want to apologize to everybody, our other speakers on the call. I actually have to I'm heading out on a trip as I speak in another 10, 15 minutes. So permit me to excuse myself. I'm sure that the CEO of Med Consult can drop my contact. If you want to reach out to me or you have other questions, please feel free, but I want to crave your indulgence, to maybe take my exit in another 5, 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Just one or two things from the things you have said. I also took a couple of things down because we all are learning, and I want to believe that you also put those things down. Interestingly, I just learned the word strainer from my dad like 3 days ago. I used to think it was sieve, but maybe sieve is also correct, but strainer is probably a more appropriate word to use. Yeah. And you could ask for feedback. And the reason I'm emphasizing this, especially talking about the sieve, is because I know that human beings think in pictures. So next time you see a sieve, you think about asking for feedback. It just helps the information to stick. Thank you so very much. We'd allow you to go now, and we can bring in the next guest, the next speaker for today. Please put your hands together again and, put in all the emojis in the chat box. Let him see it before he leaves. Let him see your emojis. Say thank you, thumbs up, show your appreciation, show your gratitude. Yeah, I see love. I see all kinds. Keep it coming, guys. Yes. Thank you so very much. And that's all the questions that we have. We will, if you need to, like the guest said, if you need to reach the facilitator, our convener would be able to advise on how to go about that. Okay, so without further ado, we would get into what we have next. Yes, and that will be going straight to our speaker. I'm just thrilled by. I have more questions. Okay, someone says I have more questions. You could always drop your questions, and would find a way to get that answered and get back to you. Okay, so we just got the email of our speaker, so you can do well to use that to send your emails, send your questions, or you could just get in touch with Med Consult, and we'd be glad to find a way to respond to your questions. Okay. All right. So I'll go straight into the next session. I believe that our facilitator is ready and, set to inspire us again, get us into the next phase. And that's no other person but Yvie. I'm going to read our profile and then we'll get straight into our session. Okay. Yvie currently serves as a member of the board of directors for the Edo State Skill Agency. She has received notable recognitions for her strides in the career sector. She was recognized as one of Nigeria's most inspiring women in Nigeria by leading the Ladies Africa. She was also recognized by the Inspire series, #Women Supporting Women Power List, for devoting to considerable portions of her activities to empowering other women. In 2020, Eve was awarded the Lord's Dry Gin Achievers Award among 12 individuals for attaining remarkable level of progress in our industry. All right. Our ultimate passion shows up in a relentless effort to make job seekers more employable by providing them with tools and resources that would increase each candidate's market value and improving their existence. All right. She has the vision to help job seekers plan their careers and position them for their dream jobs, as well as helping employers attract and retain top talent. And our current mantra is changing the narrative of employability in Nigeria, one candidate at a time. So I just read the profile of our next speaker, our second speaker for the day, who will come up sometimes very soon. Okay. I'd just like to, in the meantime that we have, while she's getting ready to go, I'm going to ask us to take a 30 seconds or a 1 minute recess, and then we'll come back into the session. We'll get to hear a word from our host to just also react to all that has been said by our first speaker. And of course, it's due cause for her to also appreciate our first speaker, even whether he's on site or if he had gone. The video would always be replayed so that she can also show her heartfelt appreciation to the guest, the first speaker. All right. So without taking more time, I'd like for us to go on a 30 second to 1 minute recess. But please don't leave. Please don't go. Just make sure that you're connected and you get the best out of this. Now, this is the time where you can just say hello to somebody that you have greeted earlier in the day. Okay, maybe I should even just do this. For those of you that joined later after we started, all right, we started in a grand style. We started by welcoming and just getting familiar with somebody that is on this platform, someone that you have never met. So the same thing for YouTube, actually. So if you're on YouTube and you see people that have been making their comments, all right, because we have quite a couple of comments on Facebook, just welcome somebody on that Facebook and on YouTube, rather. Welcome someone on YouTube. Tell them thank you for coming, and you could ask them what they do. Okay, for those who were here at the beginning also, you can do the same. Just look for the person you greeted in the morning, try to find out what they do, what level they are on their career journey, if they're looking for a job, if they're trying to change their career. Even though you cannot send a DM, you can just look for a way to creatively do that. You never can tell how that comes to someone getting a job or something. All right, so 30 seconds to 1 minute, I'll be back here just to take us further. Okay. I hope you're doing what I said, and I hope that no one has left. So let's see, has anyone met anybody? Has anyone met anybody? I'm looking at the chat box now, and it doesn't look like anybody's saying hello to anybody. In case you're lost for what to say, one of the things you can do is to write out the things that you have learned through the first speaker and just get somebody else to relearn. Okay, hello everyone. Abiola Alabi saying hello to us all. I wanted us to do that in about 30 seconds, actually. And I hope that we're doing that right now. So I'm checking YouTube again. Let's see what the people are saying on YouTube. Thank you so much, sir. Such an amazing session. Such an amazing, yeah. Amazing. Okay, so while all that is going on, let's just get into, I'm not sure if our host is ready to also just show an appreciation to our first speaker, and then I'll bring up our second speaker for the day. All right, Eniola, are you in and ready to do an appreciation to Mr. Rufai? So let's have Eniola right now. Okay. Okay, I'm reading the comments. I love the energy. Please keep it coming. Keep the energy coming. Keep the energy coming. Okay, so our host would like to just come back to do the appreciation at a much later time. So that's fine. And we have the opportunity to just crash the time and go straight into our next speaker for the day. I don't know where you're joining us from. Maybe it will be good to ask you to say, I'm a known teacher. Yes, that's the introduction. Maybe it will be a good thing to let us know where you've joined us from. Maybe you're from Nigeria, you're from Lagos, you're from Abuja, you're from Ilorin, wherever it is you have joined us from. You could also put that in the comment box. Okay, so I already read the profile of our second speaker, which is Ifie, beg your pardon. You know, as I said, Ifie, it just reminds me of people from somewhere in the village, right? No, it's not Ifie, it is Ivie. Okay. So I believe that Ivie is ready to just take us in the next session. You've had, the person you're about to listen to is someone who is on the board for Edo State's Skill Agency. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get exact skills that we can use so that we can be useful, and then we can be rewarded according to our usability. Okay, without taking any further time, I'd like for us to welcome today Ivie. Please put your hands together if your hands are not too busy. You're welcome, ma'am. Okay, you're still muted. So okay.
Can you hear me now? Good morning.
Loud and clear.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me make consults. Good morning to the wonderful people that have made it to this session today. It's a public holiday, so I'm not as glammed as I would have loved to be on a normal day. It's my only day to just be free and just relax a bit because of busy work weeks. But I'm really honored to be here, and thank you to Eniola and the team for having me. I thought that the theme for this particular event was very timely, especially because it's been 3 years now since COVID, over 2 years, and COVID came with a lot of shock and uncertainty in the workplace. And even for us as HR professionals, we've had to evolve over time. We've had to rework on certain things regarding the workplace. And as I deal with career professionals, I realize that there's a lot that now needs to be done on the sides of employees, just when it comes to dealing with uncertainties, because that's the reality of life. as you go on with life, there are many things that will happen that will shake you up, and you need to be able to figure out how you're going to handle these uncertainties and thrive regardless of the uncertainties. And that's the crux of what I'm going to be speaking on today. Well done to everybody that made it in. Whenever I see people gather together for sessions like this, I'm inspired because knowledge is what separates you from the next person. Knowledge is what makes somebody else look or sound better than the other. So when you have dedicated time to attend an event like this because you want to pour into yourself, it's definitely not a waste. It's definitely not a waste of your time. It's a new way to, it's an impressive way for you to invest in your own knowledge that will set you apart from the next person. So I will share my screen now, and we will take it from there. So I'm not one of those speakers that spends 1 hour speaking. I go straight to the point, and I would rather we invest more time in questions than in me just going on and on and on speaking. So let me just put this on slideshow, please. Sorry. Okay. All right, please confirm that you can see my screen clearly. Can you see my screen clearly, please?
Yes, we can.
All right, so today's conversation is on tips for managing uncertainty in the workplace. And I'm going to be taking this from the perspective of people who are currently unemployed and are looking to gain employment, and from people that are actually employed already and now have to also deal with uncertainties in the workplace. Now, one of the things that we had agreed on, and I believe that the organizers of this event had also agreed on, was that the main thing for dealing with any form of uncertainty is resilience. Because uncertainty simply means that you didn't plan for something to happen, or you didn't expect something to happen. And if you just think back on our lives in general, there are many times that you find yourself in a situation that was completely unplanned for, something that you completely did not prepare for, but you have to deal with that situation. And one of the things that is most important for anybody at that time is resilience. The fact that you are able to say, regardless of this unprecedented circumstance, I am going to deal with it, I'm going to handle it, and I'm going to come out on top. These kind of uncertainties can be in your health. You can be living a healthy life, and before you know it, you find out that you're terminally ill. What will keep you going every single day is resilience. Another thing that can happen is you're currently doing great at your job, and before you know it, a new management takes over and they retrench workers. Uncertainty has arisen again, but what will make you set apart from every other person is resilience. So for today, we are going to be talking specifically on resilience in the workplace. Now, what is resilience? Now, when we talk about resilience, what it simply means is your ability to bounce back when you have encountered a challenge that is an inevitable part of your life. Now, this simply means that it's the ability to bounce back when you are fired, unprecedented. It's your ability to bounce back when you were missed out on a promotion. It's your ability to bounce back when you have been in a career for a while, you took some time to have a baby and trying to come back into work. Resilience is that innate ability for you to say, you know what, regardless of what has happened, regardless of the situation I have found myself, I am going to bounce back and I'm going to succeed at it. And the workplace will always present a different range of stressors that would require you to be resilient as an employee consistently. Resilience is also described as the ability to recover from a challenge and to use that challenge as a learning opportunity as well. So it is one thing for you to be faced or to find yourself in a difficult situation. It's a completely different thing to actually survive that situation and come out on top standing tall. I will tell you a bit about my background as well. So I studied law from the University of Benin. And as I said, when I was studying law, I had no idea what HR was. I came out of the university and I took the first job that was open to me in NYSC. It wasn't a law firm, it was a marketing company, and I was working as a marketer. The first thing I had to do was to remove my legal background and wear the background of a marketer because I wanted to be retained in that organization. Now, it was while I was working in that organization, I met someone in HR that started me on this completely different path. The fact that I was able to recover from the challenge of moving from a completely different background into building a completely new background showed the resilience that I had as an individual. And that resilience is going to be required of you at every season and every stage of your career. I have been working for almost 15 years now, and I can tell you that at every season, at every stage, with every job application, with developing my business, with building my career, I have had to showcase resilience all through that journey. And I'm hoping that some of the tips that I experienced and I use that I'm going to be sharing today would also be beneficial to you as well. So when it comes to the workplace, resilience can also mean solving problems, facing challenges, and recovering from mistakes. A lot of times we stand apart and we actually applaud, and we're staring at people who have beautiful careers and we're admiring them. But one of the innate qualities that they don't tell you most often is the ability to be resilient, regardless of the problems that you face, regardless of the challenges that you face, and regardless of the mistakes that you make. Now, why is resilience even important in the workplace? The first reason it's important is because it aids job satisfaction. How? You know, when you're going about your regular job responsibilities in an organization, as a regular employee, you will face challenges in doing your tasks, in deploying your tasks. So it could be that you work as a project manager or you work as a customer service officer, for instance. In deploying your responsibilities, you will consistently face challenges. You can face challenges with customers, you can face challenges with your colleagues, you can face challenges with your management, you can face challenges with your line manager. There are many areas that will come up that will give you difficult and hard challenges to face. Now, the reason why resilience is now very important is because when you are resilient and you're able to deal with those challenges, you get easily satisfied on your job. So think about it. You work in a customer service department and you've had a particular client that has been giving your organization a lot of issues. Now, just being able to resolve that problem will give you a level of job satisfaction. And the innate ability to be able to do that is because you have resilience. Point number 2 is that it improves your employee self-esteem. How? If you're working on a project that you're faced with many challenges and you are able to surpass those challenges and overcome those challenges, you are most likely going to feel very good about yourself. You're going to feel very good about the work you do. And that in itself is going to improve your self-esteem as an employee. Number 3 is that it increases employee engagement. Employee engagement simply means how do your people engage and connect with your organization. Now, when you have resilient people, what it does is that even when the organization is going through a tough situation, your people will be inspired to be resilient in those tough times, which shows that they are a bit more engaged than a regular employee. And this is essential in developing growth in your organization. Number 4 is that resilience improves communication, because in dealing with difficult situations, you will have to learn how to communicate with different kinds of people, communicating with your clients, communicating with your managers, communicating with your peers, communicating with your direct reports. So when you have resilience as a skill and an ability that is consistent in your organization, it improves the communication of the entire workforce. The 5th reason why resilience is very important is because resilient people, they don't see challenges as problems, they see it as lessons. So rather than them giving up and saying, oh my God, things are not working out, we're just going to abandon this transaction, they say, what have we learned from what we did? What can we do better so that we can improve our processes and our business operations? And then lastly, resilience will always support innovation, because when you have people who don't give up, when you have people who are ready to face problems and take on challenges, they are inevitably going to be involved in innovative ideas that can actually help them to resolve those challenges. Now, what does it mean for you to be able to manage yourself or build resilience as an employee or as a job seeker? The first thing I would say is you need to seek clarity as a job seeker. A lot of times, the challenges that job seekers face is that they don't even know what they want to do. If I ask people today who want to start up a career, what do you want to do? I want to work in management. What does work in management mean? Or they say, oh, I want to work in the oil and gas industry. Doing what? As what? So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you seek clarity on what you want to do career-wise. In fact, if the clarity you have is that you are not clear on what you want to do, that is clarity in itself. Because when you are not clear, you at least know that this is my problem and I need to get clarity. So seeking clarity is extremely important to you as a job seeker, because when you do, you know exactly what it is that you are going for, and you are able to prepare adequately for the possible challenges that will come forth because you are clear on the path that you want to take. The second thing is review the gaps. So you now know where you want to be, and you have to review where you are. So someone here can say, I want to be a brands and marketing manager, but right now, all I have been doing so far is customer service. So what are the gaps? What is missing between where you are and the kind of career and job you want to have? And when you have reviewed the gaps, you now need to plug in those gaps. So maybe what is missing is that you actually need to move from just doing customer service to actually moving to a marketing department, or moving to doing social media management, or moving to do corporate communications. Or maybe what you need is you need to take a course. Or maybe what you need is that you need to get a mentor in a certain regard. When you have reviewed all the gaps, you now need to plug in the different gaps. By plugging in the different gaps, what you are doing is that you are building resilience for the future job opportunities that will come. Because that way, whenever an opportunity comes that ideally you would have been not prepared for, you will now be prepared for it because you had already reviewed the gaps and you had plugged in the gaps. And then number 4 is that as a job seeker, you need to develop a wide range of abilities. Why? Because the workforce is changing. 5-7 years ago, people were not building careers in social media management. People were not building successful careers in just graphic design. People were not building careers in marketing communication, but the world is evolving, the world is changing, and as such, you need to continue to develop a wide range of abilities. You cannot say that all I know how to do is numbers, because a time is coming when numbers will not be enough. You cannot say all I know how to do is talk to people. Meanwhile, a time is coming where robots are going to replace talking to people. So you need to consistently develop a wide range of abilities that will set you apart in the workforce, so that when you do start your job seeking journey, you are a bit more competitive than the regular employee. Now, what do we mean when we talk about building resilience as an employee in an organization? I'm going to walk you through 8 different things that you need to consider doing. The first is that you need to develop positive habits. You need to develop positive habits. A lot of times, I find that career professionals are based on vibes. They are not intentional about specific things they need to do that will be positive to their career and positive to their growth. What are the positive habits that you do intentionally today that is going to take you to the destination of your career? What is the positive habit that you do today that is going to set you up for promotion in the next 2 years? What is the positive habit that you do today that, regardless of the uncertainties that can occur in your industry or in your sector, you are going to be better prepared? I'll tell you about a sector that was not very prepared. It's called the VAS sector in the telecommunications industry. Okay, so let's talk a bit about VAS, right? So you know how on your phone, let me stop sharing so that I can at least see people. Yes. So you know on your phone how MTN or Glo will send you something and say, dial this one to subscribe for tips on health. I want feedback, guys. You can chat in the chat box if you've ever seen that. Or they say, dial 231 to be able to get subscription on music tunes or something. All of that service was called VAS. It was outsourced to telecommunication companies by the network operators. So MTN, Glo, Etisalat, and the likes would outsource it to other telecom companies. And so what they used to do then was that they used to bombard us with a lot of options. Today, you have signed up for job recruitment tips. Tomorrow, it is on health tips. Next tomorrow, it is to get alert on these different things. And you remember that they were charging us for it, right? And now the telecommunication industry is being managed by NCC in Nigeria. So guess what? NCC changed management, and a new management came and now started digging into how this VAS thing was working. And what they used to do, Cynthia and Abiola and Ebere, what they used to do then was that it was an automatic renewal. Think about it. There was never any time where on a month-to-month basis, you will go and renew these tips. Once you subscribe, every month, they were deducting the subscription fee from your phone. But when the new management of NCC came, what happened? They said, no, this is robbery. Because Abiola could have subscribed to tips 8 months ago. She's not even tracking whether the tips are coming. She's not even reading the tips. She should have a choice to be able to say yes or no on a monthly basis. So NCC decided to put a new policy that says that on a monthly basis, you must actually go back to the person and say, do you want to resubscribe again? Guess what? The moment NCC put that, they started to lose. A lot of people started saying, oh my God, did I subscribe for this? And started to unsubscribe. Guess what? That was the end of VAS companies in Nigeria. There's no VAS company existing today. A lot of them, 90% of them, shut down because there was no work again. They were making 500 million, 1 billion, because think about the number of subscribers, guys. Think about it. You will have Glow network phone, you will have MTN phone, you would have subscribed on both phones, and these people are milking how many millions of people, Nigerians. But guess what? The companies were not prepared for a new government to come and change the policy. That is why they shut down. And that's why I say that even as individuals, we must be clear, because anything can happen in our industry. Anything. The government can wake up and put a new policy that automatically shuts down your industry. What do you do at that time? So what sort of habits have you put in place to be able to make sure that regardless of anything that happens in your industry, you are better prepared? Regardless of anything that happens in your organization, you are better prepared. What sort of habits do you put in place? Number 2 is, how do you reflect on challenges? I know a lot of people that when they face challenges, for them, it is immediately going to break their spirit. They immediately lose focus. They cannot move forward. How do you see challenges? For me, I always see challenges as an opportunity to do something better. Because of the nature of the work that I do, I work with corporate organizations. I have a 9-to-5, and I work with career professionals as well, and face the challenges on a daily basis. I can do a career session with someone and I see that, the way I typically would handle career sessions for my other clients will not work for Adekunle. So I need to find a way to deal with it. I don't say, Adekunle, I can't solve your problem. Please be going. It is possible that in your workspace as well, the way you have been doing onboarding was working in every other organization you work, but where you work currently, it is not working. The question is, how do you choose to reflect on these challenges? Because the way you choose to reflect on it will determine if you have resilience or not. The third point is reflect on your achievements. The way you can be resilient and tell yourself that no matter the circumstances that occur, I can overcome it, is because you reflect on the things you have achieved on in the past. Most often than not, we don't remember the things we did well. We are consistently self-criticizing. We're very hard on ourselves. We tell ourselves we could have done this better, we could have done that better, but we forget that there were things we did well. And the fact that we were able to survive those tough situations, we're able to achieve those great strides, shows that there's something in us, and that in itself can help you to build resilience for the future. Number 4 is embrace a positive attitude. Like I said earlier, a lot of times people give up too quickly. People would say, oh, this thing I was working on, it didn't work out. Oh, I wish I had done this differently. Oh, I wish I had done that differently. Embrace a positive attitude and say, yes, I made a mistake on this transaction. I made a mistake on this job, but I'm going to do it better next time. So that way, no matter what comes up, you already have a great mindset to be able to deal with whatever challenges that come. Number 5 is build trust with your manager and colleagues, because a lot of things can happen in the organization that you're not prepared for. There are lots of conversations that take place in rooms that you are not present in. And the way you can build resilience is by making sure that you have built trust with your managers and the people that you work with. Because that way, even when uncertainties happen, they are quick to protect you. They are quick to be able to support you such that you can overcome whatever situations come your way. The next point I will give is focus on what is within your control. And what are the things that are within your control? Self-development. Self-development. One of the challenges that people face when it comes to uncertainties in the workplace is, what if I'm fired? The truth is that if you know your onions, you will never be afraid of termination, because you will get a job like this. What separates people apart is the amount of competencies that you have and the in-depth competencies that you have. If you know your onions, if you know your work, you are great at the job that you do, you will not be worried about uncertainties, because no matter what happens, you will be fine. So why don't you focus on the things that are within your control, which is developing yourself, which is training yourself, which is developing your skills and competencies, increasing in your knowledge, Focus on the things you can control. Focus on how you do your job currently where you work. Focus on how you lead the people in your organization. Focus on how you serve your line manager. Focus on the things that are within your control. It will invariably build resilience for whatever will come in the future. And then you also need to be more assertive. Most often than not, people are not assertive. They don't even think far. They're not even, what's the word now? They don't pay attention to the things that happen around them. So they're not sensitive to changes and times. You need to be more assertive. You cannot think that the way work is done today is how work will be done in the next 2 years or in the next 5 years. You need to be more assertive when it comes to your career. And then lastly, learn to take breaks. Sometimes the workplace can be very overwhelming and you really need to take a break from that and be able to say, you know what, I need to breathe. I cannot be superwoman every day. I cannot be Superman every day. I'm going to take a break so that when I come back, I'm stronger and more empowered to be able to break down whatever career walls that come my way. In conclusion, I would say that resilience is a skill that can be built over time, so long as you have the right mindset and support network around you. So take time to strengthen your resilience to setbacks so that it will help you to move forward in your career rather than being held back by overwhelming situations or by obstacles. Remember again that you can intentionally build and develop resilience over time. And you can do this while you are sourcing for a job and while you are in your current employment. Thank you very much. I will now take questions regarding workplace issues as a job seeker and as a current employee.
Thank you so very much, Viv, for that session. And I'm sure that more appreciations are coming in. Akonde Cynthia says thank you. And I'm sure that we have quite a number of people saying thank you also on YouTube. That was really great. Like they like to say, short and concise. You know that, like I said, we're live on Facebook also. And this is going to be an encouragement to each and every one of us that beyond what you have had once, it's very, very important that you go over this video, to go over this material over and again. Okay, it's there on YouTube. I'm sure that our host will give it to us, maybe for free or maybe for a fee, but whatever it is, just make sure you go back and just listen because you'll get a lot more. While we wait for questions to come in, I have 1 or 2 questions to ask you. And I'd like to start with vibes. You mentioned vibes. And, you know, you said that many people today want to go after the vibes, and most persons are not particular about the work that needs to be done and all. I want to ask, should I not desire the vibes, right? Can't I get promotion based on vibes, for example? Maybe they'll make me Minister of Enjoyment, or maybe a new office will be created titled the Office of the Chief Enjoyment Officer or something. Maybe, who knows, maybe it will even be a function under the HR eventually. But should we not seek vibes? And okay, just a little addition still. Vibes could also now speak to enjoying what I do as against doing what I have, right? Should I not be enjoying what I do? Would that not be the vibes that I would like to talk about? Please just respond to that. You're muted now.
Apologies. Okay. So let me say this very quickly. Vibes can take you only to a certain level. There are organizations that exist and a lot of things are doing our vibes. And what do I mean by vibes? You don't really need to know your onions. You just need to know somebody in management. You hire people in your team to do the work, and that's it. But I can tell you for free that it can only take you so far. Because you see, it's except you want to remain working in that company, and God forbid that that company should change strategy or change management. I'll tell you 2 stories. I had interviews with a candidate recently. She was being recruited for a head of HR position with a big company. And when we started having the conversation and I was asking in-depth questions about core HR operations, she could not answer because she had no idea. But she has been promoted. She has gone on and on in this company. She has done great. But when it came to knowing the work, she did not know the work. And what does this mean? She's unemployable. The only organization she's employable with is the organization she's working with at the moment. Why? Because over the years, she relied on who I knew, relied on hiring people to do the job, and never really invested in self. I'll give another example. I've had situations where you see people who are suddenly retrenched. They woke up one day, the organization decided to downsize. And then 8 years, they're still looking for a job. When you engage them, you get to see that there was nothing to them in the first place. And that's why for me, I would never build my career on vibes. I would never build my career on superficial things. I have ensured that over the years, I have invested in knowing the work that I do, such that if any situation arises, I would never be caught short. And I want to encourage everybody here. Building a career on vibes is sweet, is easy, it is not sustainable. And when the stakes are high, your vibes will not sustain you. The kind of global organizations you want to work with don't hire people based on vibes. So your first red flag is that where you are is keeping you comfortable. But when you get into the real workspace where you have to compete on a global scale, it is not vibes. When you're asked to speak at an event, it's not vibes you're going to do. You either know the work or you don't know the work. And so for me, that focus from, oh, it's just cool to do this, it's just cool to do that, has to end. We need to start developing a workforce that is intentional about their growth.
Thank you so very much. You talked about having a wide range of competencies and abilities because we never can tell what is going to be needed in the future. But how do I make sure, or what's the balance between getting all kinds of things? Like this morning, I had to make an application, and in the application, there were skills that I was supposed to learn. And I identified like 5 or 6 skills. And while doing that, I was asking myself, won't you kill yourself? Won't you burn out? This is like 5 skills cutting across like 3 different industries. I want you to please speak to the balance between not acquiring what may not be needed forever, and just that balance, please.
Thank you very much. So you remember one of the things I had said was that the first thing is you need to be clear on what it is that you want to do. Yeah. So right now, for example, I'm very clear that I'm building a career in HR. I'm also very clear to what extent I want to develop my career in HR. I know if I want to be an HR generalist or I want to be an HR specialist. Now, if, for example, I say that, you know what I really want to do is to be an HR specialist, it means that there are specific certifications I would never bother with. There are specific courses I would never bother with. There are specific skills and competencies that I may not have to put as priority, but it's good to have. It starts with knowing exactly where you are headed. I'll give this example. OJ, if you want to go to Paris today, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what do I need to get to Paris? You need a Schengen visa. You need to book a flight. You need accommodation. You need to check the weather to know the kind of clothing to go with. What a lot of people do is when they have decided to go to Paris, they know that they're going to Paris January 2024. They don't do anything until January 2024. And that is when they realize they don't have a Schengen visa. And that is when they realize that, oh my God, I actually need to book a flight ticket and now the flights are too expensive. People never plan. So what you need to do is, where's your destination and what do you need to take you to that destination? When you know where your destination is and what is needed, you know what you have versus what you need. So you can plan adequately for how you want to buy. So if, for example, you want to go to Paris in January and you already know all the things you need, you give yourself time and say, okay, I need to buy a ticket of ₦1,000,000 Naira. How much will it take me to raise that ticket money? And when do I need to buy this ticket so I still buy it at a good cost? What are people doing about their careers? A lot of times, people are just making abrupt decisions. One of the best things you can do for yourself is carve a niche in your career. You don't have to be doing everything. It's okay for you to say, I do only financial analysis and that is what I'm doing. I don't do accounting. It's okay to say, you know what, I want to be an accountant. I don't want to do finance. It's okay for you to say, this social media, I want to be great at it and be a content creator and social media manager for global brands. It is possible. but you must know what it is that you want to do so that you know what it is that you need and not be a jack of all trades. As I build my career every day, the stakes are getting higher. There's certain things I'm still not doing very well that every day I'm telling myself, if you need to work on this, because at a time in my career, it's not knowledge any longer that I need, it's specific competencies. And so I'm consistently developing myself and saying, I need to do better with people management. I need to do better with delegation. I need to do better with trusting my team and letting go of control. Those are things that are extremely important to my career. So what is important to your own career destination so that you can focus on those things rather than doing everything at the same time?
Amazing. Thank you so very much. So before I take this other question that just came in, or maybe I just take the question already. And the question, the asker starts by thanking you for such a session.
Thank you.
Because it's really impactful. And then he or she says, thank you for this session. You talked about developing positive habits. Can you mention some positive habits that one needs to develop? And are there habits that are specific to certain careers?
Okay, so I would say that there are generic positive habits that you should have as an individual who's building a career. And I will share some of those habits as well. So first of all, organizational skills. How do you organize? So up till now, I still have people who work in my team, and as simple as keeping a to-do list is a problem. And then when you're checking at the end of the week, how far have we done this? How far have we done that? You find out that they forgot a lot of things. Why? Because they did not put together a to-do list. So organizing your day, your life, your week is a positive habit that is very essential to your career growth. Because that way, at the end of every day, for instance, I have my notepad, right? I look at all the things I planned to do and I tick off what has been done. I'm able to look and say, can I carry this over till tomorrow? No, I need to do it today. So I stay back at work to get my job done. Organizing skills are extremely important, and those habits are extremely important. Number two, another habit is reading. This is one habit that I struggle with. I won't even lie to you. So I've had to look for ways that it can help me as well. So I started by, I want to continue to read and develop knowledge in HR. So I'm going to look for books that are like novels, because I prefer to read such books. But reading is extremely important, because the more you read, the more knowledge you have, and the more knowledge you have, the more set apart you are in the industry. One of the most beautiful things is when you find yourself in a conversation and you're able to add value to the conversation because you have developed knowledge. So reading is another habit that is extremely important. I would say another habit that you need to have is work-life balance. You need to be intentional about this. And that means that the same way that you're intentional about succeeding in your work, you need to also be intentional about succeeding in your private life as well. Don't make your work everything about you. Me that I'm preaching, look, even for me, I'm talking to myself as well. Your work cannot be all that you do. So you need to have a habit of ensuring that you're building a life outside of work as well, because this will make you a 360 whole person. When you find people that are all about work and they're not about their social life, there's a part for your social life that also helps you as a person, that will of course inspire the work that you do as well. Another positive habit as well can be planning generally, and this is similar to organizing, not doing things based on the spur of the moment, but being intentional about planning your day, planning your career, planning your team's tasks, planning the things that you want to do, so that nothing is left behind and you are able to ensure that you focus on every part of your life that is extremely important. Those are the key habits that I would love to share.
Amazing and fantastic. Let's just go on from where you just stopped, and that's about creating another life outside of your work life. I want you to give like a picture. Maybe this is just catching you at a sudden, but maybe you'd help us think something out. What kind of life?
Is it just me? I think I lost OJ. I don't know. Is it just me? Can somebody comment in the...
Because I want to beg your pardon.
OJ, I lost you for a bit. Do you want to take that again?
Sorry, am I in?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to ask. Yeah, okay. So I was going to say that I understand that today when recruiters recruit, they recruit, for example, in fact, some people just go to your Instagram or your Facebook and all of that. Some just, in fact, some get your phone number so that they can view your WhatsApp status, and you don't even know that they're doing that. Some just go and check your conversations on LinkedIn and all that. And the quality of what is there determines whether or not you get the kind of job that you want or whether you're going to get promoted. You know, someone is working and he thinks that I'm good at my stuff, and you're busy abusing your boss on your WhatsApp status, not knowing that he's viewing it and all that. If you could please run a picture, draw a picture of the kind of life that could be built outside of the work life.
Okay. So one of the things I want everybody to know is that you're a reflection of your organization the moment you pick up that letter. So even for myself, I'm extremely cautious because everything that I say is a reflection of my organization, because people hire based on culture fit. So the moment you accept a job offer from a company, know that it's not just about you any longer. You represent that company, because what you're telling the world is that the way you reason is most likely how your organization reasons as well. Secondly, we all need to grow up, right? I understand that social media is a great place to be. Everybody wants to be on the gossip blogs. I only have one question. In what way is a gossip blog or is abusing anybody going to benefit you as a person? That's my only question. So when you go on social media and you want to comment on this celebrity's marriage, how has that comment contributed to you as an individual? A lot of times people lose focus because social media is a great place to hide behind a personality. But what you do not know is that for every time that you invest in things that are not productive, what you're doing is you're taking from yourself. Imagine if rather than spending a lot of time on social media, engaging in unhealthy conversations, you were on LinkedIn in healthy communities where they were talking about your craft and you were developing your job. You were developing yourself as an individual. So while I understand, because some people would say, you know, work is work, outside is outside. Actually, it's not, because you spend most of your time in the office anyway. So majority of your personality is being showcased in the office. It's not being showcased outside of the office. And what you feed yourself with is what is going to invariably happen in the office. I can remember a time an employee of ours had a fight with her line manager. And all she kept saying was, don't talk to me because I'm a married woman. Don't talk to me because I'm a married woman. Why? Because that's what she has fed herself with. That being a married woman is a plus. So in the workplace, it's supposed to, doesn't add any value to you. So what I would say is the same way that you are intentional about developing your career, be intentional about developing yourself outside of your career. And the same way that you are studying to be that fantastic customer service personnel, you should be studying to be a fantastic human being as a person. Because at the end of the day, people are working with a human being. They're not working with a robot. So if you are intentional about developing yourself, working on yourself as a person, people would enjoy working with you. And remember that people get jobs by people. If I want to recruit today, I'm going to call Eniola and say, Eniola, I'm looking for somebody in this field. Do you know anybody? She's not going to recommend the person she sees that is always fighting on social media. Why? Because her integrity is at stake. She's going to recommend the person that she believes is consistent outside and inside of the workplace. That's what I would say to that, OJ.
Thank you so very much. This question is going to be around the subject of support system, as you mentioned, right? You know, you talked about going into your own support system so that you can be able to coordinate yourself and all of that. And, you know, there are people with different personalities, right? Some people have the shy type. Well, some claim they are the shy type, even though I don't believe that there's anyone shy except by your choice. Some are introverts, some are extroverts, some are the outgoing type, some keep friends, some don't keep friends. How do you advise someone who says, I don't have anybody, but I agree with you that this support system is very important. How do I build such support system around me?
So I like people to be their authentic selves. I don't want you to become somebody that you are not. So if you're not an extrovert and all of that, it's okay. But I want you to also think about these few things. Number one is, if God is going to bless you, he's going to bless you through people. And God is not a magician. You need to have the people in your life already that he's going to bless you with. If you're not intentional about building relationships, you're also, what you're doing is you're depriving yourself of many opportunities. Like I gave the example, if I'm looking to hire somebody, I'm going to talk to Eniola. It is the people that have built a relationship with Eniola that Eniola would think of. She's never going to think of somebody that is not in her radar. Now, you don't necessarily have to be friends with the entire world. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you must be strategic in having key relationships that inspire you. If all you have is 2 best friends and you have a mentor, it's more than enough. But you must have those 3 people in your life that you know pour into you and you pour into them, such that if anything needs to change in your life, you have those people to fall back on. I can tell you for free that there are many times I've faced challenges in the office that all I need to do is pick up the phone and talk to my mentor and it's resolved. If I didn't have access to that, I would struggle at work. Secondly, when it comes to the workplace, we all have to be chameleons. There are times when you have to be an introvert, and there are times where you have to intentionally become an extrovert to get your job done. There are many people that I have a relationship with today that if not for my job, there's no way that we would have met. But my job requires me to be that way. I know that a lot of people don't believe because of my social media persona. I'm actually very shy, and I really, really struggle with relationships. I only have my best friend, she's my sister, that is my person. And for me, what I have done is I've built relationships such that if I need something in this industry, I can call somebody there. But it doesn't mean that we are best friends. It doesn't mean we talk every day. It doesn't mean we go and hang out. I invest in the relationships. When they need certain things from me, they can call on me and I can call on them. But I invest in them. And that for me is what is key. Sometimes your job would require you to actually bring out a part of you that is not your most exciting part, but you're required to do. So you need to learn how to be a chameleon as well.
Thank you. Learn how to be a chameleon. And while we're still at that, someone asked a question and says that, number one, how do you know the kinds of relationship that you need? Number two, how do you get such relationships and nurture those relationships without looking like a parasite?
Okay, so I would say this. How do you know the relationships that you need? Any relationship that makes you a better person is necessary, and any relationship that you can make somebody a better person is necessary. So relationships should never be one-sided. You shouldn't go into people's lives to take from them. You should also go into people's lives to pour into them. So I have relationships that I repeat, my mentees and my aburos, where I pour in, and I have people that I'm an aburo to who pour into me. And I also have people that I'm an aburo to that I pour into them as well. So one of the things I would say is focus on relationships that add value to you. Like I said, we all need to grow up. It's interesting and sweet to be on gossip blogs, to be talking about this person. It's not adding any value to you. You came to this life alone. When you are living this world, God is not going to ask you how many celebrities did you talk about. He's going to ask you about the fact of the work that you did. So we need to just let go of certain conversations. They are not healthy. They don't add to you. They don't add to your career. They don't add to your business. They don't add to your finances. Come on. So you need to ask yourself, based on where it is that I want to go, what sort of relationships do I need? Remember when we talked about when you're heading to Paris and you need to know what you need. Sometimes what you need is a relationship. What you need is a resource. It's not necessarily that you need a training. Sometimes what you need is a mentor. Sometimes what you need is somebody that you can call when you have a challenge and can advise you. So you need to be able to be clear. When you know where you are going, you will know the kind of people you need to get you there. And those are the relationships to nurture. And how do you nurture without being parasitic? It's not only about taking. You should celebrate people. You should be able to pour into people. You have people that you typically will call when you have issues. And on their birthday, you don't send anything. You don't reach out. You don't even, all you do is send a WhatsApp message. You can't even say, okay, today I'm going to send a cake to this person. You should be able to give. When you give, the people that are pouring into you won't feel like you're a parasite, that all you're doing is taking, because they can see that you're also pouring into them. If all you do is rather than just call to ask another question, you're calling to check up. You're calling to ask, how was your week? Is there a way I can support you? Is there a way I can assist you in any area? Pour into the people that are pouring into you.
Amazing. Thank you. Quick question on training, as you mentioned. Is training really within my control? Now, this is my context. The context is that sometimes I know some trainings that I need, but I'm not able to afford them. Sometimes I can afford them, but I think that I do not have the time to go for such trainings because work chokes me up. I'm working from Monday to Saturday. Sunday, I have to be in church, or even sometimes on Sundays, I get to work, right? How do I navigate that, the training path?
Okay, so what I would say is that remember that training is not necessarily about classroom training. There's training in terms of coaching, there's training in terms of mentoring, there's training in terms of online training. What you need to do is, first of all, don't be under pressure. You need to train in everything at the same time. You can say, okay, every quarter I'm going to train. Now, what are the different trainings I need to do? Sometimes it's a short course as a 2-hour course. Sometimes it's an online course you can take 7 days in a week. The truth is, at the end of the day, you may need to make certain sacrifices. I run a 9-to-5 and I run a business, and I'm also trying myself to train myself as well. There are times where I don't sleep till 2 a.m. It is a season of my life. It's not going to be like this forever. Sometimes seasons of your life will require you to actually sacrifice a lot of things to actually get it done. And so what you can do is space yourself. You can say, okay, for this particular season, because work is busy, all I can accommodate is for me to have a mentor. In this next season, work is not as busy. I can afford to take an online course or a physical training course. Plan your training to be around your life and pace yourself.
Thank you. You also mentioned taking breaks. This is like the second to the last question. And, I'm thinking for some people, what's running through their heads is, would dash monkey banana? Like, what kind of break? How do I get such a break? My boss is tough. If I apply for leave, they won't even let me and all that. How can one survive? Because again, one of the things that I believe from resilience is, someone asked a question, we'll come to that. One of the things I believe about resilience is, if you're not refreshed, if you're not energized, your staying power is going to be affected. So with this, so to say, negative working conditions or maybe realities of life, how can I now program my life in such a way that I can still go on a break?
Okay, so one of the things I would say is, guys, you see, this thing about my boss did not allow me to go on leave and all. If you fall sick, the work will go on. If you die, they would hire somebody to replace you. So you kind of need to insist on your time of work. I know that it's easier said than done, especially when you're at a point where you're junior, you don't want anybody to be angry and all of that. But you need to be intentional about taking breaks. And then what you can also do is make use of your weekends. For example, there's nothing that's taking me out of my house on Saturday and Sunday. I'm so sorry. I'm very grateful to God for online service. I really miss physical service. But Monday to Friday, I don't get home till about 11 p.m. and I'm up again at 4 a.m. These weekends are my opportunities to rest. I also intentionally communicate to my line managers when I'm burnt out and when I'm breaking down. And I request for some days to work from home, just so that I'm not in that hustle and bustle of Lagos traffic. And then when it's time for me to actually go on leave, I actually will go on leave. It is your right, especially when the organization says that you are entitled to leave days. You must insist, because remember, if you drop dead, they will replace you in 2 weeks. If anything happens to you that you're suddenly unreachable, that work that is so important will get done. Choose yourself first sometimes.
Wow, thank you. You said if you drop dead, they'll get somebody within 2 weeks. In fact, sometimes in 1 week. And that just brings me to remember how that even when we conduct interviews, usually there's a first choice and there's a second choice. And usually the second choice is kept in wait in case the first choice misbehave, or, if anything happens to them, they can always go back to call that person. So find a way to get breaks as often as you can. There's a question that says that, how do I source for trainings?
Okay, so various places. Google is your friend, right? So various places. There are many training institutes as well. It depends. Is it a paid training or is it a free training? So Google is your friend. All you need to do is training on financial management, training on financial analysis, things like that. You can go on LinkedIn as well and see there are many trainers that are there as well. So I think that you should just do a lot of research and figure out exactly what it is that you want to be trained in, and many options are available to you.
Thank you very much. My final question for you before we let you go to do some other things would be around the subject of artificial intelligence, right? And resilience. What would you think is the impact of artificial intelligence on staying resilient at the place of work?
So I think that a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to come and take over their jobs and all of that. So what I think is that AI is actually going to make you sit up and ask yourself, how relevant are you to the corporate organization? If artificial intelligence is instituted today, would you be replaceable? I also think that with artificial intelligence comes a lot of technological advances that are useful to your career as well. And that will set you apart while you're trying to be resilient. So take advantage of all of the information on AI. Be rest assured that AI cannot replace everybody and every job function. Also ensure that you're being adaptable and you're looking for ways to do your job differently, such that you continue to advance as technology advances as well.
How can we thank you enough, right? We're grateful for your time. We're grateful for the gift of your resources, the gift of your presence, the gift of your heartfelt sharing. Thank you so very much. We really hope and pray that everything that we have learned today will produce huge results that would make you proud that you actually came to do this. Yes, really impactful session. Oh, there's a question here. I don't know if you have 1 minute to just take this question, please.
Okay.
All right, so this question says, how do you handle setbacks that didn't come from your desk, but from interfacing? This question is not so.
I understand. I face it every day. So there are certain things that, imagine you're working on a project and you need to work with IT, and IT messes up. But because it's your project, you're the one that will take the front of the attack. I understand. So one of the mantras I have is your job is not done until the job is done, Ayodeji, which means that your job is not done until every single stakeholder you work with actually gets the job done. So one of the things I've decided to do, which I've seen happen for a lot of Egbons and people in the industry as well, is that when they're working with other people in another department, they don't assume that they're doing the job. I never assume that you have done your part now, they are doing their own. It's a lie. You need to micromanage. You need to make sure that you plan as a team. So when I have a project that I have to do with other teams, I make sure we all sit down, we agree, we give each person responsibility, but I'm the project manager. So I'll continue to project manage because it is my own KPI that is at risk. I hope that helps.
I believe it does. Thank you very much. Would let you go now as we get into the final session from the host and the CEO of MEC Consult. But before we get into that, as you take your leave, I'd ask people to share the lessons learned so far, all right? Whether you are here on Zoom or you're on Facebook. I'm checking the comments at both platforms, okay? So please share some of the highlights, some of the things that you have learned. Some are already doing that even without asking, okay? Precious Ikana, thank you very much. We have Nambien Lanap. This doesn't sound like a Nigerian name. Thank you very much. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Aderonke. Thank you for your comments, and those are from YouTube. Please, let's know the things you have learned, and then we'll be glad to read them out if time permits us to do so. Great stuff. Thank you, Mom. To know your relationship, to nurture, you must know where you are going. Absolutely. She said that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please keep your comments coming in, and then we would be glad to read them if we have the time to. But very importantly is that we'll be glad to see the things that you have learned. I'm not sure if our facilitator would like us to share a material, slides with the people who registered.
Yes, it is fine. We will send it to MEC Consult after this session.
All right. So I deliberately asked to just confirm that everyone on this call, on this conference, registered for this conference. So if you did not register, make sure you do, because there is no way we can get the material across to you. So please request, because some people just joined by YouTube, or some people just got the link and they didn't register. So please make sure you register for this conference so that we can get the materials across to you. At this point, I would like to allow Yvie take a leave.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Hope to have you again. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, finally, we have a final session, and that will be the rounding up session, which will be from our host, the convener of this great conference, and that's no other person but Eniola Peters. I'd like to read a profile to you so that you can know what value you're about to receive. Okay. Eniola Peters is a passionate HR and career development consultant with a strong desire to help individuals become employable. You see that? She's currently working at MEC Consult, where she provides guidance and support to job seekers and employees looking to advance their careers. Eniola's commitment to making people employable has been evident in her work as an HR consultant and career development expert. She has helped many individuals and organizations achieve their career goals through her expert guidance and support. With over a decade of experience in the HR and career development field, Eniola is a sought-after speaker, consultant, and mentor who is passionate about empowering individuals to achieve their full potentials in the workplace. Eniola Peters is a dedicated professional with a passion for making a positive impact on the lives of others. I work as an HR and career development consultant, as well as our authorship of Ready, Set, Work, is a testament to our commitment to empowering individuals to achieve success in their careers. If I were you, having heard that she has a book, Ready, Set, Work, I would ask for an opportunity to get a copy of that book by asking her to share the link to where you can buy a copy so that you can have one to yourself. And without taking any further time, she is our host. She is the convener. I am privileged to be the host. And this is the point where I would be bringing in the convener of this great conference. But again, like I always like to say, I like to just be sure that you are learning as much as you want to. Of course, Eniola is set, but one of the things, like I said, that makes a speaker gracious enough to share as much as they have is when you give feedback. So while Eniola is waiting, I don't know if there's someone who would like to unmute themselves and just say one word from the things they have learned today, very, very quickly. Anybody like that? I'd like to see your hand up, and then I can bring you in. Anyone like that? You don't need to turn on your video, just your audio. Just say something, and that's going to be in 30 seconds. Anybody like that? I'm sure the people on YouTube they're wishing that they are able to do that, but yeah, that's okay. So YouTube family, anyone like that? Okay, please go ahead, Abiola Alabi.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Abiola.
I'm sure everyone can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Having all of this stuff for free, it's a privilege that I do not take for granted. And the era really strike with me, the era of democratic. Like when he mentioned the fact that time is a democratic resource. Time is a democratic resource. I had to write it down like, And the era of strife competition with digital literacy. Digital literacy is not limited at all, which I'm sure at the end of this conference, I'm still going to work more on that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much. So I see Grace's hand up too. Grace, you have about 30 seconds to quickly say what you have to say to. Please go ahead, Grace. Okay, if Grace is not ready, I can have Sharon speak. We're trying to work within time. Sharon Barron, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. It's been an amazing session, really. This power pack, so much value for free. Especially at a time, this is very needed, especially at a time when a lot of people are going into entrepreneurship and it seems like the pressure is getting worse on people who are doing the 9 to 5. It feels like, what am I doing with my life? And everybody really seems to be going forward. But really, I think it's an eye-opener and helping us to see that we need to look at where we are and make use of the resource we have and see the positive sides to where we are and just make use of it. And truly,
Amazing.
wherever we want to be at is still from who we are and where we are starting from. Thank you so much. So much.
Amazing. All right. So Grace is back. And after Grace, Molara will speak, and that will be all. Grace, you have 30 seconds.
All right, so thank you very much. I want to say thank you to Mama Eniola. I really appreciate this opportunity. Okay, so I want to say thank you to the last presenter. I learned a lot from her, especially planning, writing out my daily plan. I think I'll be doing weekly planning, so that was very impactful for me. So thank you so much. Hello?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, we heard you. Thank you. Let's have Molara, if Molara is still ready to talk.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hope you can hear me. Yeah,
Loud
it's such an amazing session. I'm so glad that I got to be a part of this. Thank you to the speakers. I'm sure they're going to hear me replay. So we're really grateful for this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. OJ, as well for this opportunity. One of the things that stood out for me was from the first speaker, and I think it just kind of relates to my season at the moment when he mentioned we should discern the season we're in at the moment. Are we in a season to earn, to learn, to build, profile building, or to build competence? It really stood out for me, and it made me sit back to think about what season I'm in at the moment. And one of the things I also like that he said was to be gentle and kind with yourself, because these things take time, especially when you have to build credibility and profiling. It takes time. So rather than beat yourself up, because we are such in a generation that wants things fast. So we're seeing things on social media and we feel like this person is hitting it. He said, if we don't know the efforts that went through that process, we're just seeing the results. And it just made me sit back and give myself a pat on the back. Okay, there's time for this. Just take your time, and very soon it's going to work out well. Those are the two things that stood out for me. And of course, from the last speaker, the resilience part is something I believe that I think it's a continuous thing. It doesn't just end. She just mentioned as well that even right now, she knows a lot. She's vast in knowledge, but there are certain things that she's also still trying to get better at, not just about knowledge, but certain competencies that she needs to. Yeah, so those are the things that stood out for me. Thank you.
Amazing. You're welcome. Okay, we'll go straight to our convener today for our session. And please start putting your questions together if you have questions, and just be sure that we'll be able to take a few of them as time goes on. All right, without taking any further time, I'd like you to please welcome with me Eniola Peters.
Wow, what an insightful session, the two speakers, Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am sure that you guys have, you've had a blast, because even me, I've had a blast, and I'm literally here, just saying, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. I've had a lot of wow moments, and I'm glad, I was able to put this conference together for everyone. So thank you for joining, and thank you for making a decision to be better, to be a better resilient worker, because that's what this world needs now. Especially with the fact that a lot of people are relocating out of Nigeria. So we need more resilient workers, more people that are willing to take on the heat, while the workforce is reducing. So when you take on the heat, you would get better at your job. And that's why I'm here to talk about, using resilience as an advantage to become employable, using resilience to, as an advantage to become employable. My key message really is just about being employable, being work ready, knowing what it takes, to be able to get the job you desire. And resilience is one major key skills we need to actually become employable. So welcome to my session. Like Olumide has introduced, I am Eniola Peters, and I have a great news. Today being the 1st of May, I'm launching my employability skills book, and it's called the Work Ready book. And that is, it's called, oh my Lord, it's called the Ready, Set, Work, a guide to preparing for the workplace. It works for those that are just preparing to start their job and those that are already in the workforce that, are learning to navigate around, being the best version of themselves at the workplace. Yes. So the book will be out. We'll send you guys links, via email to download the books at a very, 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 very affordable fee. So that's that for that. So welcome to my session once again, and I'm going to be sharing my screen. The speakers, the last two speakers, they've done amazing, like amazing. Let me say they've said everything. They've said everything I want to say. Oh, hey God, what do I say? Okay, so just teasing. Yeah, but the two speakers have they've said a lot. And I'm just here to just, give a, what's it called now? A summary of everything, that we are sharing today, and just to hand it. So the resilience advantage. Let me know if you can see my screen. I'm sharing my screen with you. So let me know if you can see my screen. We're talking about the resilience advantage, using resilience as a major skill to become an employable individual. Yes, so welcome. So today, Benga has come, he has talked about resilience, Evie has spoken about resilience. So I am just going to just run through it again. Resilience is basically the ability to bounce back from setbacks and challenges, to persevere in the face of difficulties, and to adapt to changing circumstances. Evie mentioned stuff about, changing management will change the circumstances of the organization. There are difficulties both in your in your work and in your personal life. There are difficulties you face, there are setbacks and there are challenges, and that is where the resilience comes in, because resilience is just the ability to bounce back from these challenges. It is a skill that can be developed and earned over time, and one that can help you succeed in both your personal and professional life. Now, let me say that again. The resilience is a skill that can be earned over time, and the one that you can use to succeed in both your personal and professional life. Now, resilience is not just a skill. It's not something that you were born with. It's not a soft skill. It's a technical skill. It can be referred to as a technical skill that you need to gain. You need to learn how to manage situations, how to handle situations, how to handle challenges, both in your personal life and in your work life. So I'm going to share a story that one of the ladies that I counseled recently came, and she said, she's having issues with her work. The work is too much. She doesn't know what to do. Like, everything is just changing. Her boss doesn't seem to understand her. She's newly married, and everything. The pressure from her husband's family and everything was just overwhelming. How does she manage herself? What does she do, and all that? And what I just told her was, basically, you need to learn how to be resilient, how to bounce back, how to manage your personal life and your work life. Because when you're at work, you're at work. Your personal life should not have any effect on your work life. Your work life as well should not have any effect on your personal life. So if you're having issues at work, you should not bring the issues back home. If you're having issues at home, you should not bring the issues, to work. My former boss used to tell me that once you get to the gate, drop all your issues, and face your work, because that's one of the ways to learn resilience. That's one of the ways to come out of situations, especially when you don't know how to come out of it. If you mentioned it, having a great circle and all that, to support system. Yeah, it's still part of my slides, to have a support system to rely on, to talk to when you're having issues like that. And that is one of the ways to bounce back. That's one of meanings of resilience. So now going forward, how can resilience help you boost your employability and career growth? Okay, so firstly, being resilient means that you are better equipped to handle stress and pressure. In the workplace, being resilient translates to being able to manage tight deadlines, to manage difficult colleagues and demanding clients. Now, how do you manage tight deadlines? 24 hours, we all have 24 hours, and then you have unbelievable bosses that gives you some unimaginable deadlines that you're like, how am I supposed to manage it? That is being resilient. Managing difficult colleagues, difficult bosses, like says, do this, do this, do this, do that, and you really have to do it. That is skills of being resilient. Demanding clients that says, this is how I want it, and this is how I want it. There's nothing you can do about it, and this is the timeline. How do you manage these people? Interesting thing is, even though your employers are the bad ones in quotes, they value employees that can keep calm and focused under pressure. When you go for interviews and they ask you, do you work under pressure? So yes, I love to work under pressure. But truthfully, how many of us can work under pressure? How many of us have the resilient skill to work under pressure? Employers value people that can work under pressure, who can maintain their productivity and quality of work even when things get tough. Is there anyone here that wants to share a time? I would love to hear feedback. Is there anyone here that would like to share a time their boss, pat them on the back to say, well done, you did well, even though things were tight? Is there anyone here that would like to say that? There's so many times that, when they say when the tough gets going, the going gets tough. That's how it is, right? When the tough gets going, the going gets tough. Sometimes when things get tough, some of us, we run away because we're like, oh, why does things have to be this tough? I'm so fed up. I'm so tired. This boss doesn't understand me. I need to go and sleep. I need to wake up. Everybody wants a soft life. Like, my colleague just said, everybody wants a soft life. Like, how do you manage situations like that? Employers want people that can manage things and maintain your productivity under pressure. Now, secondly, resilience is closely linked to adaptability. Resilience is closely linked to adaptability. What does adaptability mean? Ability to adapt easily, ability to adapt to any situation. So when COVID happened and then a lot of people were laid off or asked to work from home and couldn't just manage the work-life balance because they are at home, they couldn't adapt to the new changes. And that's why a lot of people lost their job in this COVID season, post-COVID self. That we're having to counsel and coach a lot of people, to go back to learn how to become adaptable, and in the workforce, like things you need to do now to know exactly how to, fit in, to fit into the new current job market. Like, how do I fit in? What are the skills needed now? That is adaptability. That is closely linked to resilience, because once you know these are the skills that are needed of me right now, how do I adapt? How do I learn? So now it's just like, oh, you got a new job and you're supposed to learn how to swim. Would you rather say, oh, I don't know how to swim and resign? Or would you rather learn how to swim and, become one of the best employees in that organization? Or ask yourself. Those are the ways to become adaptable, to adapt to, you know, the new job, to new trends, you know, in the world. That's one of the ways to become resilient, because in today's job market, being able to adapt to new technologies, processes, and ways of working is very essential. The ability to learn quickly and adjust to change can set you apart from other candidates and help you stay relevant in your field. How quick are you able to learn? Now, I'm not just saying, oh, this is an interview that you come and tell me, oh, I'm willing to learn on time, I'm willing to learn, and then when it's time to learn, you're like, oh, this work is too much, it's not for me. I mean, I know some people that would have said, oh, this job is not for me, I can't do this, I mean, I'm not willing to learn. And then when they were interviewing you, you tell them, oh, I'm not skilled in this area, but I'm willing to learn. How true is it that you're actually willing to learn? How willing are you to learn new skills, as long as it's in line with your job, with your career path, you know, with your career focus? How quick are you to learn? Now ask yourself, those are the questions you need to ask yourself, because those are the ways you know how resilient you are, you know. Then thirdly, resilience fosters a growth mindset. Resilience fosters a growth mindset. Once you're resilient, your mindset will change, right? Rather than seeing failure as a setback, resilient individuals view it as an opportunity to learn and to grow. You know, Evie said the same thing. When you see problems, you see problems as an avenue to grow. You see problems as an avenue to grow, not as an avenue to run away. This mindset can help you take on new challenges with confidence and to be more open to feedback and constructive criticism. Benga mentioned stuff on feedback. How open are you to feedback? Is it when they give you feedback you run away? You know, I said something. I said something a couple of months ago about how I used to run away from feedback. Like, I was working in an organization, and the first KPI, my feedback was, you know, literally zero, and you know, I was feeling bad, like, oh, this guy doesn't like me, that's why he gave me the feedback and all that. And I know most of us here have that feeling, like, oh, the guy marked me down because he doesn't like me and all that. No, being resilient means you're open to constructive feedbacks. Are you ready to, you know, listen, to hear constructive feedbacks? Those are the things that you need to, you know, ask yourself. Those are the questions you need to ask yourself to be able to come to a conclusion that I am actually resilient. I have a resilient spirit, resilient skills, and I can manage, you know, and get this job of my dream. So how can you develop your resilience and boost your employability and career growth? You know, it's none other than what has been said earlier. Cultivate a positive mindset. Those are the ways to build a resilience skill. Practice gratitude. Be happy, you know, any day you wake up, be grateful to God that, or be grateful that, oh, you have a job, you have this, you have that. If possible, you can get a gratitude journal, you know, reflect on things that are good, you know, focus on solutions, not the problem. Practice mindfulness. Challenge negative thoughts and celebrate small wins. It might look small, but celebrate it. In the process of celebrating it, you get better. In the process of celebrating it, you see more opportunities open up for you. You know, build a strong support system. Surround yourself with positive and supportive people. Practice self-care. You know, take yourself out. Take care of your mental health and your physical health. Continuously learn and upskill. These are things Benga and EVA have said, and I am saying again. You need to be resilient, but to be resilient, you need to cultivate a positive mindset. You need to know that everything happening is not to hurt you, is not to harm you, is not, you know, is not to make you be a bad person. It's to make you a better version. So once you see that, once you have a positive mindset towards these things, towards working, once you start working in an organization and you have a positive mindset that this is my work, you take ownership. So when issues come, you don't run. Instead, you face it head on, and then you work at it, and you guys get better at it. Then you would see that you're becoming a better version of yourself. You're becoming resilient, even in your personal life, even, you know, at the place of work. And then you see that you're actually growing. You actually grow. You get the job of your dream, even with so many challenges, you still get it, So that, is all you need to do to become a resilient worker. And the more we grow, the more we become a resilient workforce. The more everybody learns how to become resilient in their own different areas. You need to do a survey. You need to check where you are. How resilient are you? How do you stand in times of challenges? How do you feel? Do you run away or you stay? Do you face the challenges? Do you accept the blame? Do you take your constructive feedbacks or not? That way you will now know where you are and where you intend to be. Thank you for attending this conference. Thank you for listening to my short session. I do hope that this last 3 hours has been amazing for you, like it has been for me. So now it's time for me to take questions. I know some questions, a lot of people had some questions that were not, answered by the other speakers. So if you have questions now, I'm ready to take it. So I'll be here. I'll be waiting if there are any questions. So let me get over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and for sharing from your heart. I could literally tell that it came directly from your heart. And that's why I'd like to say thank you. See, Thanksgiving are coming in already. So keep sharing us with your appreciation. Let's see how much you've learned. I have a question here while we wait for other people to ask their questions. And this particular one says that, there's a statement you made around when you get into a place, you tell them at the point of interview, you tell them that you can work on that. You don't have the skill and that you're willing to learn the skill, but you come in and you are not learning the skill. But is this the right mindset? And this is how I wrote it. Right. Yes, I was willing to learn by the time I was coming in, but when I came in and I saw the toxicity, I decided not to learn again. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm looking for a way out. Is this a right mindset, or what do you have to say about that?
Okay, from my own end, I don't believe there's a right mindset or a wrong mindset, right? Everybody has a right to their own opinion. However, if you enter an organization and you feel the organization is toxic, then I would like to ask you, why do you think it is toxic? Is it because of the way they respond to you, or is it because of the way you respond to them? Can you hear me, Linda?
Yes, loud and clear.
So yeah, is it the way you respond to them, or is it the way they respond to you? I mean, everybody defines toxic in different ways. The person might be saying toxic because he or she feels like the job is too much for him. So it's just an excuse, to run away and say, oh, you know what, I'm not. So if it's toxic for you, why are you not resigning? Why are you still there? It's a very wrong mindset for me, even though as much as I don't like to say it's wrong or right, but if it is toxic for you, if you enter an organization and it's toxic for you, there's no reason for you to remain there. It is better you take your leave and go and look for a non-toxic organization instead of staying back and not learning the skill as you have promised.
Thank you very much.
Do you understand? Yes,
absolutely.
It's better you leave. Yeah, it's better you leave and go and look for another organization that isn't toxic, or you stay in the toxic environment and do what you have promised. Who knows, maybe after doing what you promised, learning the skills and all, it won't be a toxic environment again. Who knows?
All right, thank you very much. So this other question, I'll come back to something close to toxicity very, very shortly. But you also talked about having a positive mindset. And I was thinking in my mind, do they sell this thing in the market? And this is where I get my context or the perspective. The perspective is, there's this young person who grew up from a very, very low background, in quote, right? There is technically, or there's practically no picture of success around. And then I come into Lagos and there's this job, they've agreed to pay me 90,000 naira per month. And, people are going forward around me, there's this thing about resilience that we have learned. I need to get better at my job. But in a way, I want to get better, but I'm also okay because I don't have a yardstick. I don't have context to striving for more. I don't have context to this positive mindset of a thing. How can I design my life in such a way that I have things or people or something that keeps me in the positive perspective?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay.
Can you rephrase it?
Maybe I'll put it in another way, right? You talked about having a positive mindset and it, as one of the things that keeps you resilient. Okay, maybe I should use another example. And this example would be that everyone around me, especially millennials, Gen Zs and all, everybody around me don't care what happens with their boss, what happens with their work. Everybody just wants to collect their money and leave, okay? But here I am, right, maybe I'm not even happy about the job that I'm doing. And you have said that resilience is one key factor that would move me further in my career. I don't really have good examples that can help me put positive mindset in perspective. What are the things that I can do for me to just be rightly positioned to think right?
Okay, so the first thing is knowing what you want, right? What do you want? Do you want to just be an ordinary staff or you want to be an excellent staff? Do you want to excel or you just want to remain redundant? Now, when you know what you want, when you know the level you desire to be, you know, if you have done your career planning and projection and you know in the next 3 years, this is where I see myself. I want to grow in my career. I want to be the best in this. You will know that you have no choice, right, than to be resilient or than to have a positive mindset. So if the people around you are affecting you one way or the other negatively, then you stay away from them and look for those support systems that would support you to become the best version of yourself, right? If you're around people that keep, you know, drawing you back and making you feel like there's no need to kill yourself, you know, if the boss doesn't make money, he makes money, or you get your own salary, so why are you killing yourself? But you know that you're not killing yourself, you are actually, you know, learning and planning to grow better. You know, like you see yourself, you see the likes of Tony Elumelu, you see the likes of Dupe Olushola, and you're like, oh, I want to be this kind of boss. I want to grow in my career path. You know, you see the likes of EBA, you see, you know, like, you know that, oh, they were here and they are there. I want to be like these people. I don't want to be like my friends that are just customer service managers, customer service attendants, and they're collecting 70,000 naira for the last 8 years. I want to, you know, move up my career ladder. Once you know these things, you would know that I wouldn't having a positive mindset is not a choice. It is a compulsion, like it's a fact. You need to have it. And then you now know you need to surround yourselves with the positive people that would help you, you know, grow in your career path. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, you did. And maybe the last question, if we do not have any question, it's working under pressure. This is a regular language, right, during recruitment and all. How much pressure is good pressure? And what I mean by that is, at what point do I say, no, this is enough? This environment is not made for me. I think I should look for a better place where I can work, where I can have my sanity and all of that. So the question is simple. How much pressure is good pressure? When do I know when to exit, or if it is me who needs to build more resilience?
Okay, so when you newly join an organization, right? The pressure is supposed to be like, let me use percentage, like maybe 5%, because you're new, you're onboarding, you're joining the organization newly, so you're getting to know how the structure is and all that. At that point, if the pressure is at 50%, then it's no good. Do you understand? But the thing is, as you grow in an organization. There are some levels of commitment that is expected of you by the CEO, your HR manager, your boss, your direct line of reporting and all that. And as you grow, you see when the pressure is just out of toxicity or out of lack of being serious. Now, if you're not serious with your work, you have deadlines, you have what's it called? You have deadlines, you have time limits to do projects, and you're not keeping to it. Now, that is a lack of seriousness on your own part. If your boss is now putting pressure on you to say, Olumide, you were supposed to have submitted this 2 weeks ago, you didn't submit it, blah, blah, that is not pressure. Now, that's what some people call pressure these days. Telling you what you should have done, some days back, and giving you a time limit to say, okay, you know what, since you couldn't do it 2 weeks ago, I give you by 12 noon, I need to see it. Some people call it pressure. It is not pressure. Now, pressure is defined differently by different people. The kind of pressure I can take, some people can't take it, and that's because of their background. The way you grew up. Like growing up now, maybe you grew up in a family where they don't send you on errands, they don't give you anything to do. All you just do is wake up, eat, sleep, watch TV and all that. So imagine you growing up in that line and then getting a job. And then your boss is telling you, write this letter and give me in 2 weeks. You're like, 2 weeks. This guy is putting a lot of pressure on me. That is not a pressure. Do you understand? Or for someone like us, let me not say us. For someone like me that grew up under pressure, for someone like me that grew up under pressure, and every second is work. The kind of pressure I can take, the other person A can't take that kind of pressure. Now, so that's why I said it is not the same thing. Pressure for A is different from pressure from B, and the pressures I can't take. I've worked with a boss that we plan conferences in 3 days. Some people can't take that pressure because in planning conference in 3 days means you need to get venue, you need to get speakers, you need to get money, you need to get this, you need to get that. You are constantly working on your toes. So I think to be able to define if the pressure is too much or becoming toxic, you need to know yourself. You need to know your limits and you need to know what you can take. Can you expand it? Is it expandable? Can you grow? Can you become more resilient in accepting this pressure? Is it too much? Now, when the pressure is becoming toxic is when you're being insulted or, being referred to as non-entity, when you're supposed to have done something and you didn't do, not when you're getting queried. Because if you're getting queried, it means you're already failing at your job role. But a lot of people don't understand that. They feel, oh, this guy doesn't like me, is why he's putting me under pressure. But you say you can work under pressure. We can't measure pressure because pressure for 5 liters of water is different from pressure from 2 liters of water. It's different from pressure from 200 ml. It is totally different. Do you understand? So you now have to determine how your own pressure works. Is it based on your background? Is it based on, your past experiences? Is it based on, for me now, I can say I can work under pressure and a bigger pressure will come and I'll run away. So you can't know your limits. You can't know the toxicity until it happens to you. Do you understand? So if you want to say, oh, how do you know when to step back from toxicity? Yes, they're totally different question. I mean, if your boss is insulting you and calling you stupid and calling you in the middle of the night, no boundaries. But that's not pressure because pressure can't be measured. It varies.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. And I'm sure that we've learned quite a number of things that will be useful for us from right now. I'd like for us to close with final thoughts if you have any. But while I'm saying that, I'd like everyone under this call, if you're on YouTube or you're on Zoom with us right here, I want you to please go on Instagram right now and follow Meg Consult, right? Meg Consult has varieties of programs that can help you connect to the right jobs or scale your skill, or bring you to the next level, the next phase that you desire at your career or at your profession, or maybe even at your business. You never can tell. All right. So we'll come back to Eniola for our final thoughts as we bring this conference to a close.
All right, thank you, Lumide. Like I always say, you need, in this journey of being work ready, in this journey of being employable, you need to know yourself. Like William Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. Don't compare yourself with other people. Like I just said now, my pressure is not your pressure.
Yeah.
Your pressure is not another person's pressure. But because you compare yourself, what you can take is not the same thing as what I can take. So know yourself, discover yourself, know your capacity, know the kind of people you can work with. There's this DISC assessment we usually do at Meg Consults, for people when we're doing this employability skills training. It will help you know your personality type and know the personality type you can work with. Once you know this, it's going to be easier because you can't work with the same set of people. And that's why a lot of people resign, because you're working with Mr. A, and you work for 5 days, but you work with Mr. B and you realize that you guys are in sync. It's personality types. Your personality types match. In DISC assessment, DISC is dominant, influence, compliance, and what's that S? What's that S again?
Me, I've forgotten.
DISC. Okay. I remember.
DISC is an acronym, and in fact,
anybody can just acronym, yes, but dominant, influential, compliance, and S. I remember though. So imagine a dominant person and an influential person working together. Is not going to happen. I mean, if you want to know more about this, you can send us an email. We'll run the test for you. You can't, because you are both, dominant is bossy, influence just wants to have fun. So imagine a dominant person telling an influential person, do this, do this, do this. That person will not do nothing. She won't do nothing. They'll just be looking at each other. Okay, yeah, S is for steady. Thank you. But a dominant person will work well with a steady person or a compliant person, because once the dominant person says, do this, the compliance will say, yes, sir. Do you understand? Steady can just say, okay, what are we aiming to achieve with this? So at the end of the day, you need to know yourself. You need to know what your capacity is. You need to know what your career focus is, so that you can know all you need to learn to prepare to become employable and get the dream job. And, just to end this, the dream job exists. That job you desire is out there waiting for you. How serious are you about getting this job? That's all I'm going to say.
Amazing. So how serious are you about getting your dream job? If you are not serious enough, you will not get it. And, the result
I think
that you get.
Okay, network. Can you retake that? Network went off.
Okay, so I was saying that the feedback that you get, or the results that you get, determine the level of your seriousness in most cases. Of course, there are exceptions, all right, but the kinds of results that you get determine, it's actually a feedback on the kind of efforts that you're pushing into what you need to do. So if you're saying that I've been trying to get a job, I've been trying to move forward, I've been, all the excuses, all the complaints about the jobs, it's actually a feedback for the kinds of efforts that you're putting into the things that you want to achieve. Of course, like I said, there are exceptions. Sometimes it's just not the right timing. Sometimes you just have to wait out the time to keep applying, to keep doing what you know to do, and the result will eventually come. So that is how we will draw the curtain of this conference today. I'm sure that you have learned quite a number of things that would help you further your lives at whatever thing it is that you do. Okay, so how do we close this conference without giving you an opportunity to unmute? And this is everybody right now. You can be, what's that word again? You can be noisy about it. You can just express yourself the way that you would like to express yourself. Unmute your mic and say a word of thank you to the conveners and the organizers of this conference. Thank you so much, Sars and Ma. I think it's also Mars. Well, but you know, if it's Eniola, you're showing appreciation, so please go ahead and do that right now. You can unmute your mic, please. Anybody, everybody. You don't need my permission this time.
Thank you so much, Meg Consult. I'm really
Thank
grateful.
you so much. It was a very rich session, and I'm glad I didn't miss it.
Okay, you can keep it coming in the comments and all that, but that's how far we've come today. Thank you guys for being a part of this.
Thank you so much, Meg Consult, Evie, and Mr. Gbenga. Truly, it's awesome, amazing. I learned so much, and I'm a new person entirely. Tomorrow we'll see a new Ruth. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, thank you guys. Please, if you didn't register, okay, can we get the registration link? Okay, you'll get the link right now on the chat box. So I'm going to ask our admin to please help drop the registration link on the chat box so that you can register. And that was the point I was about to make. If you haven't registered, please make sure you register right away so that we can be able to pass the material to you and you can be able to make use of those things even at your own convenience. You can go over the slides, and this video is on YouTube. If you're registered, you will see how you can get the replay of the YouTube or even of the Zoom recording if you want. At this note, we would like to say the final thank you. I must have said thank you a million times today, but hey, yes, it is what it is. Some people are currently enjoying themselves, having a good time and all, but you're here today, spending your time with us at this conference. But hey, it's not what you know that counts, but what you do with what you know. So go use all that you've learned today and become a better person for it. We'll see you again some other time. Bye.